mile wait to get past the damn green line.
Anyone who gets hit by a bear in the neighborhood, call Joe Murray.
All right, welcome in 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Full show tonight. Skaz is here. Christina, our intern, is here. We're on YouTube. And we're going until 11 o'clock tonight. Your phone number is 617-779-0985. That's the number. We will start Celtics, but we're going to move to some other topics tonight. I know the Patriots had OTAs. Gerard Mayo spoke today. Elliot Wolf spoke with Kay Adams. So we have some sound from them. There is rumors now regarding Linus Ullmark. We'll get to those coming up in just a little bit. So there are other topics to talk about, and of course the Red Sox are underway. Up 1-0 right now in Baltimore. We'll keep you posted on that all throughout the night. And again, the phone number here is 617-779-0985. Christina's going to answer the phone. You tell us what you want to talk about. We'll put you right through. So we're doing full shows for the rest of the way here until next Thursday when Game 1 of the NBA Finals begins in Boston. The Celtics, of course, awaiting their challenger. Dallas goes down last night. They lost to Minnesota. I believe it was 105-100. Minnesota had some big shots from Karl Anthony Towns. I thought defensively Luka Doncic struggled. And the other thing with Dallas is they really don't have that fourth scorer. Let's call it that. They're dominated by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. PJ Washington can play, certainly. Nice little player. And they've been getting spots from some other guys, but for the most part, they're limited. They're limited in scoring and defensively as well. They got their big men back last night. Kleber. They lost. They had a shot. They came back a couple of times, and now the series is extended a little bit. So what happens now when you have 9 or 8 days to wait for your next opponent? You now start nitpicking. You now start looking at storylines or watching games and looking at things with a different eye. And I'll continue to say the national media still questions if Tatum and Brown, if they have issue existing, if they have issues actually existing with each other. And I'll just start out by saying this. The Celtics are the envy of the NBA right now. They're the envy of the league. Look at them. They're loaded this year, next year. They're going to have 2 Supermax contracts. They've drafted well. They've made good trades. They've supported their coaching staff. You just look at it, the Celtics are the envy of the league without a championship. I think people are almost rooting against the Celtics because if they do win, what could be next? I do think that everything that's happening in the NBA with the aprons and the salary cap, it hurt the Warriors, right? And I think Kevin Durant leaving hurt them as well. And they ended up winning a championship, but winning back-to-back and winning multiples and being that super team or that dynasty in the NBA, it's going to be hard with the new salary cap. But the Celtics, they can do it. And again, they have to win this year. So before I even get ahead of myself, they need to win 4 more games. They're hungry. They're starving. They have a chip. And I'm backing them. But they're the envy of the league because if they do win, they'll be right back in the mix next year. They'll be able to move contracts and players if they want. They've drafted well. So again, I look at the Celtics as the envy of the league because they have 2 superstars. They have a young coach, right? They have these star pieces around them that are all stars in the league. But the national media still questions if Tatum and Brown can coexist. And I'll bring it up again for those who don't know this. So I'd like to let the national media know that ownership of the Celtics went to Jason Tatum and asked him, do you want to play with Jaylen Brown? He said, yes, absolutely. Tatum wants to play with Jaylen Brown. There's a huge story earlier this year about how they've gone out of their way to meet each other in the offseason, exchange sneakers, catch up on wardrobe, things like that. They have a great relationship. But the envy of the league, that's what this is. To the media, to players in the league. And Colin Cowherd said something yesterday regarding the Celtics making it to the finals. Of course, I have to relate it because it's about food. But the East Coast has great bagels. Not a lot of great NBA teams. Is Boston one? I'm not sure. What kind of bagel is? I like the French toast bagel. I like a cinnamon toast, cinnamon French toast. I like the creamy whipped cream. Right? To say the East Coast has great bagels, not a lot of great NBA teams. Boston, it's all. If you don't think the Celtics are a great team, that's fine. But if they win the championship, I don't care if you don't think they're a great team. I don't care. But you know what I'll see? Championship, rings, banner 18, and then being competitive for years to come. On Get Up this morning, Tatum is trying to prove he's a winner. Brown is trying to prove he's an equal. It's separate goals. Again, uninformed people who don't know backgrounds and storylines coming up with stuff to have content. We never seen two stars ever this close in skill set to where you don't know who the 1A is. Who cares? I don't care who the 1A is. People want to anoint Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown finally plays to his potential, but yet they're trying to prove to each other. Tatum is a singular talent. Brown is a force multiplier behind the scenes that Tatum is not. What does that even mean? See, guys, we might have to go over these quotes later, but this is the one I don't understand. Tatum is a singular talent. Brown is a force multiplier behind the scenes that Tatum isn't. What?
Calling Tatum a singular talent when he far and away makes the team, everyone on the team better around him during the game, I would say that's a force multiplier, whatever language they want to use.
Nick Wright also had Tatum in tier 3, below tier 2 of Kyrie, and Jaylen in tier 1 of Luka. People are losing their minds.
Joe, it's just the beginning. We still got, 8-9 days until this thing. Just wait. The takes are gonna. This is early. We're still in take development.
This is my point, though. Is people are losing their minds. You're all takeless. You're all uninformed. No talent. Can't relate to anything. Can't create your own content. You're all talking heads. You're uninformed. You make way more money than I do. You do way less research than anybody I know. You make a lot of money. I'll keep saying you make a lot of money to be takeless. What do? You still frame a shot of people being happy and you want to dissect that? Stop making up stories, right? We do that on the radio. You guys crush us. Oh, your straw man argument. They do it on television and it's like, what do you think about that? Was Tatum really upset?
Tatum was jumping up and down. Well, I mean, yeah, it's just, what are we doing?
Quote, when Jaylen Brown wins the award, the rest of the team just goes crazy. They were so genuinely excited for him. You did not seem to think it was mirrored in Jason Tatum.
It's just people looking for anything. You're going in jaded. You're looking for something to be upset about.
It's okay to be critical if you think that they can finish it. It's okay to be critical of Jason Tatum's shooting. It's been an issue, but he's done great at the other thing. Jaylen Brown is finally played to his potential. He's a superstar right now. It's okay to be critical about their path if you want. That's why winning in the regular season and being the best team works out. It's okay to be critical of Joe Missoula. It's okay to think that the other teams can beat them. That's all great. But when you're takeless about the team, if you want to say they're boring, that's fine. Fine take. Fine. They are boring. They just want to win a championship. They have their money. They've checked their boxes. The slam dunk contest, you name it. MVPs of all-star games. Great. But coming up with this stuff, you're takeless. You're supposed to be some of the best talents in the world. Where is your creative content anymore? You're all just talking heads, talking out of your ass. That's what it is now. That's what this is. Takeless, lazy, awful analysis on watching videos. At least come up with the guy chugging a beer or the guy, come up with something else. Don't still frame someone clapping and being happy and using it for your own take and argument. It's so lazy. So lazy. Skaz, I'm almost jealous of it. I'm jealous of it. These guys make so much money to sit there and do that. Kills me. Anyways, we'll have more of these all through the night. My point is, everybody is talking about the Celtics, and they are the envy of the league. I love it. 617-779-0985. We'll lead it off there. Joe Missoula on with Zoe and Beetle today. We have more opinions from people who are lazy and uninformed and make a lot of money, that don't know anything and don't do research and don't have producers who help them. It's awful. You think we suck in Boston? Watch that crap. We'll go to break. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.
regarding the run you guys are on. And I'm talking from a negative perspective that people question the path. You avoid this team, that team. You guys are 12-2, throughout these playoffs. Does it piss you off when you hear things from the outside, when things are talked about from a negative standpoint with the team?
No, I mean, I don't hear a ton of it. You obviously know what's out there just because you're getting asked questions every other day. And so, what's out there. But at the same time, it doesn't piss me off. It's just control what you can. There's nothing you can do about it. And I think there's always two sides to a narrative. Regardless of the path that we've been on, if you don't take care of business, there'll be a reason why. And if you do take care of business, there'll be a reason why. So I think the great thing this team has done this year is kind of just stay balanced, focus on what's true, and at the same time focus on, the things that we can control. And I think every test that's been put in front of us, we've kind of handled, as a team and with togetherness and kind of with the right mindset.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We got a full show tonight. That was Joe Missoula on with Zoe and Beetle for his weekly spot. Zoe flat out asked him, what do you think of some of the criticisms? Because there's a lot of them. I mentioned all the reaches. The East Coast has great bagels. Not a lot of great NBA teams. Is Boston one? I'm not sure. Tatum is trying to prove he's a winner. Brown is trying to prove he's an equal. It's separate goals. We've never seen two stars ever this close in skill set to where you don't know who the 1A is. Tatum is a singular talent. Brown is a force multiplier behind the scenes that Tatum isn't. Nick Wright is doing his tiers, kind of like Maz. He has Tatum on tier 3, Kyrie and Jalen on tier 2, and Luka Doncic on tier 1. And the other one, when Jalen Brown wins the award, the rest of the team just goes crazy. They were so genuinely excited for him. And you do not seem to think it was mirrored in Jason Tatum. Yet, they still framed him. He was clapping. He was happy to go to the NBA Finals. That's at least what I saw. My interpretation of it. One thing Missoula said, and this is something I stand by in life. There's 3 sides to every story. There's not 2 sides to every story. It's your side, his side, and the truth. That right? That's it. There's 3 sides to every story. Missoula's just giving, he's not saying really anything. And if anybody told you it doesn't matter, because that's what they will do, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown did it himself. Oh, I try to, ignore the noise, but I do have a chip on my shoulder. I did want to do this. Tell me Al Horford saying that he's starving didn't motivate you. He is. He looked like a wolf. About to go lurking for prey. The way he was talking after that. Again, the chip that is on Jalen Brown's shoulder, I'm glad we're seeing the superstar Jalen Brown. This is the same guy, which you could really look at it, choked in Game 7 last year. He then became the highest paid player in the NBA, who was criticized for no left hand in his free throws and was booed in Indiana at the All-Star game for the slam dunk contest. Booed on draft night, by the way, to go way back. But here he is, persevering. At times, he did disappear. In some of the close games in the regular season, people were wondering about Jalen Brown. Why is he sitting on the corner, on an ISO situation with Tatum with the ball? There were all those things. I mean, now that Porzingis is out of the way a little bit, you're starting to see more of his game develop. And what I'm seeing more is Jason Tatum doing more. His shooting isn't great, but he is driving to the basket and kicking out assists. He's rebounding more than ever. Both of them are playing at an elite level, and that's okay. I don't care who the 1A is. Right? Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was 1A. But Scottie Pippen was a damn good basketball player. Right? You could do that. Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler going back to back. Drexler didn't care that he wasn't 1A. These guys don't care as long as they win. I mean, look at Kyrie Irving right now. He clearly is not 1A. He's not. He's thriving. He's absolutely thriving. And listen, I think people think Karl Anthony Towns is 1A. I don't, Skaz, who's 1A on Minnesota? Who is 1A? Is it Karl Anthony Towns or is it Anthony, is it Ant Edwards? Who is it?
It would be Anthony Edwards.
Okay, see, I don't care. I don't care who the 1A is. Denver, the 1A is Jokic, right? But these narratives are so lazy and takeless. Create your own content, you talking heads. 7 seasons now together are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They've had 3 different head coaches. They've played along over 70 teammates. They're on the doorstep. I've always said that they can go to the finals together, but it's still up in the air if they can win together. That's just the facts. But now with Drew Holiday, Porzingis, and Derek White, and even Al Horford playing at this level, clearly they're the favorites. They have the support that they needed. They've added the support of players like Holiday, White, Horford, Porzingis, and now they've given Brown and Tatum the tools. They supported Missoula with a staff. They've come a long way. They've grown. But man, please look into it a little bit more about these two. They've went out of their way to become closer. They want to play together. Celtics ownership thought about moving on from Jaylen Brown, and it was Tatum who said, no. Do your research on that, please. Don't look for something. Don't look for who's 1A, 1B. These guys want to win championships. Then it becomes whatever you want it to be. 2 superstars who want to be at the top, that's fine. Let that thing play itself out. I don't know. Last I checked, when I look at some super teams, let's call the Warriors, right? It would have been in Kevin Durant's best interest to stay with Golden State, wouldn't have it? Right? Would have been in his best interest. Instead, he's bounced around now to Brooklyn and the Suns. That guy's dead in the water right now. I just look at where this Celtics team is. They win it all this year. They could be doing this for a long time. Envy of the NBA. 617-779-0985. We also have an update on Kristaps Porzingis there, Skaz. Let's hear that one.
Last time we talked to you, you said you haven't spoken to the team doctors regarding Porzingis. Have you spoken to them this week?
No, I never talked to those guys.
You're so consistent.
Will we see him in Game 1 of the NBA Finals?
I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I do know he ramped it up on the court a little bit. I do know, I've said he's working really, really hard. There's a couple shoot-arounds where he hasn't done anything with the team, but he's been in a one-on-one set, kind of ramping it up, the intensity level of it. So I know he's getting better and better.
When you say he's ramping it up, that's safe to assume he had been ramping it up during the last series and not just the last couple of days? Okay.
Yeah, throughout this, yeah.
All right. Again, Missoula, who is usually, I really like him when he's on with those guys. They all have a good relationship. I can tell that it's not just on the air. I can tell they've hung out maybe before. But why give anything up on Porzingis anyways? But Skaz, there was a tweet today by one Kristaps Porzingis in Latvian. I don't know if you've done your translation on what he said, but could you give me a breakdown of the Latvian tweet or X that he did today that was in Latvian? If you could translate that for everybody, please.
Yeah, so obviously I had no idea what it said, but you hit translate post, and it says, thank you to everyone who supports and sympathizes throughout the season. I'll be back in line soon. See you in the finals and then in the arena with your own. So obviously not the best translation, but it sounds like Porzingis should be ready to go for the finals.
See you in the finals.
See you in the finals.
I'll be back in line soon. So there you go. There's your update on Kristaps Porzingis. 2 other things I wanted to bring up. Totally random. I don't have the sound, so just take my word for it. Paul Pierce was on, Undisputed, whatever that show is. He mentioned two things regarding injuries. One of the injuries was the layoff gives Jason Tatum a chance to get his hip right. So I'm not giving an excuse for Tatum. But is he playing with a bad hip? And the other thing that Paul Pierce said was Drew Holiday's dealing with a hand injury. So I would just tell Paul Pierce, if you're going to work in the media, bro, might not want to say those things. Has anyone else picked up on it? Is the night show the only people who've picked up on it? Do you know what I think it was? The code red. Right? Caleb Martin, he fell right down on his hip. Tatum got right back up. For anyone who's ever fallen on their hip, especially in the ice, right? When you're outside in the ice, the black ice especially, when you slip, you don't know. Boom! Right on your hip. That thing doesn't hurt right away. But you wake up the next day going, oh. Could it be? Could that have been something that may have hurt Jason Tatum? Your thoughts at 617-779-0985. I'll pull up my call screen. Actually, Skaz, if you could we get Benny in Oxford? Hey, Benny.
What's going on, man? What's going on? What's going on, guys?
What's up, bro?
Hey, real quick. I know we have a long break before the finals, but this narrative keep trying to push to break up the duo, make them feel like they hate each other. It's just comical.
I just feel like they're lazy and they haven't done their research and read any stories about their background or how they've developed their relationship and literally ownership going to Jason Tatum. Like, have they done any of that research? I do a show every day. They do too. They get paid way more money than I do and are on national television. I do my job.
I couldn't agree more. Tatum rubbed the guy's head, clapping his hands, smiling. And what do you want him to do? Pick him up, throw him on his shoulders, and hop around? Like, what else do you need?
Should he have taken the award and then handed it to him and then bent the knee?
Exactly. I don't get it. Also, the long break, really quick. Do you want the long break with Minnesota winning last night? Do you want the same team, whoever we face in the finals? I guess I mean Dallas. Would you want Dallas to have that same rust, or do you want like these teams pushing sevens now? They're grueling through. Like, I don't know what would benefit the Celtics more, I guess. What do you think about that?
I'm okay with the break, Benny, and I appreciate you calling, man. I'm fine with the break. I want the series to extend. I feel like any type of, I feel like if they'll probably get more like tape, right? The Celtics will get a chance to watch both teams. They'll be like, oh, this is where we can capitalize here. I think any more tape you can get on either team, finding some of their struggles, the things they're good at, they're bad at. Even Joe Missoula. There was a big article yesterday. If you read Brian Robb, doing more research here, Brian Robb talked about the intense workouts that they've been doing to try to keep guys in shape and game ready in certain situations. And a lot of the players said the reason why they feel like they were able to come back in that series when they were down in the fourth quarter was based off of some of those practices that Missoula had. So that's them crediting some of the adjustments. And I haven't really heard a lot about analytics this year, at least this playoff, right? When it came to looking inside, they looked inside. But they have been shooting the three, again, about 10 less more per game. But I feel like the longer break helps the Celtics. Right? Guys, I look at it, if Dallas has to go 6 or 7 games, how is that good for Luka Doncic? Who's been dealing with whatever. This guy's dealing with everything.
Yeah, they have a couple guys that are banged up. Cleaver's been banged up. I think Lively got banged up the other night. And for a guy like Horford and obviously Porzingis, that can only be a good thing. And if we're to believe Paul Pierce, maybe it's a good thing for Tatum and Holiday too. I mean, I get it. Rust is a thing, but these guys are going to be ready to go. They're not... This is where experience comes into play. These guys know what it's like. They have been there. They haven't done it, but they've been there. They know what's at stake. I have no qualms about this team being ready to go.
To be consistent, we have said, for the people who think that Jason Tatum's not right and isn't playing at an elite level, watch out when he does, right? How good will they be when he actually does shoot 40% or 38% or whatever it is?
Yeah, you're 12-2 and quote unquote Tatum is struggling. Let's. I'd be nervous then if I was the Mavs or the T-Wolves.
Me too. Andrew and Warwick. Andrew.
Joe, how's it going tonight? Good show.
How you doing?
Good. Brad Stevens, I really hope he does not get the itch to get back into coaching. I do not think the Celtics would be in this position right now if Danny Ainge was still the GM. I really don't. Brad Stevens has done an absolute masterclass in building a roster the last few years, starting with Derek White, kind of a undervalued asset in San Antonio, traded for him. I remember some hosts saying that we overpaid. Who's this Derek White guy? He got rid of Marcus Smart, got rid of Rob Williams, brought in Drew Holiday, Porzingis. I mean, just an absolute masterclass in building a roster. And I hope to God he does not get the itch to get back into coaching.
All right, man. Appreciate you. I mean, I don't think at this point he's making a lot of money. He's been extended. He's doing a hell of a job. I think he knows the college game really well. And one other thing I want to give Brad credit for this one. And please, like, Sam Presti's another guy I want to give credit to. There are some other guys in the league that are so good when it comes to identifying the draft. And by the way, we'll have some audio later on tonight. Danny Ainge talked about the Celtics and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We'll have that later on. But one thing I want to give Brad credit for is he has given up on first-round picks. I think the draft is going to be horrible this year. That's my opinion. There's going to be some players who play overseas that could be stars like a Wemby and those type of guys. They're all going to be out there. But as far as a college basketball player, I don't know if there's an elite player this year. I don't. At least I don't know if there's a guy that can play right away. We'll get into that. But I think Brad read that right. I think Brad Stevens has read the market right when it comes to the draft and had no problem giving up picks. That was one of the things that Danny Ainge had issues in doing. But looking ahead in hindsight, this draft here might be one of the worst. We'll find out. We have 8 more days to go, Skaz. Maybe we'll look ahead at the draft and will Bronny James be there at pick 54 for the Celtics, who, by the way, is declaring. He's going. He's in the draft. He's not going back to school. Imagine Bronny James being selected.
He's turning down workouts, too.
Yeah. Well, listen, Portland, Maine, don't we tell you, some of my favorite restaurants are there.
Bronny James ain't going to Portland.
Duck Fat's got great poutine, right? They got a hell of a brewery up there, the Sea Dog Brewery. Forest Street's got a great steak. Let me tell you.
Love Portland. Bronny James ain't going there.
Yeah. All right, we got to get to the headlines. I'm Joe Murray, and Gerard Mayo spoke today. We'll switch it up a little bit. We're touching on everything tonight here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, watching the
there are no starters. Just being able to mix and match different groups, that's a hard one. Keon's doing a good job for us, and I would say also, Keon's kind of taking that step forward as far as being a leader. Not as much vocally, but you see him actually leading the groups and working well. So if you need
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Getting a ton of tweets and texts from people who agree that they don't like what's happening with the national media. I just want to call them out for being lazy and uninformed and not doing their jobs or talking to people or actually getting facts, because it would be really easy for me to look at a headline of an article and just base things off of that. But that would be irresponsible of me. I could watch a video and be like, oh, look at Jason Tatum. He's not happy for him. Like, that happened on national television today, and it's an absolute embarrassment. And there's still 8 days to go. Like, people get paid huge money for that, while Skaz and I sit here and have to watch the Red Sox. And what do we have? What's this the PWHL on?
Boston versus Minnesota championship right now.
There we go. See, we watch everything. We do our jobs. Those guys get paid to wear that clothing too. You know that? Like I resent them and I'm jealous. They're the envy of me. I envy them. Imagine sitting at a booth, right, just in front of a television, and be like, these guys hate each other. The one at bagels, right? I'm not saying this is the greatest show in the world. The ratings show that we're pretty good, but you know what though? You are takeless. Takeless. Patriots have begun their OTAs.
I was going to say, I can tell you're fired up about this one. Just came back with a Mayo rejoin, and you just couldn't help yourself.
Like, do they do their job? Like, Skaz, you're a producer. We work together. We come up with ideas. We come up with bits. Let's do it here. Let's play the audio here. What do they do? What are they doing? What are they doing? Who is producing them? Well, these guys are so boring. Let's produce something. Let's start a controversy. Tatum and Brown, they hate each other. I don't know if both of them can be a superstar.
We're talking about them.
Did they ever read any of the articles about him? Do they know what Jaylen Brown's doing in Boston or any of that stuff? Do they know what he's doing behind the scenes? Do they know that they both met? Where didn't they meet, like in a country or so? I forget where it was.
There's like pictures of them at AAU camps back in the day when they're 15, 16 hanging out.
But they went on a vacation together and had a pit stop and met each other and exchanged sneakers, and they never planned it. Like, just do your research. What happened? Stephen A. Smith, I respect you as a journalist. I do. When you were with Philadelphia, you were an amazing journalist. But now, you know what? Do you want me to read what people text me when I'm giving a take? Because that's all you do now. I got this take that people say that Jaylen Brown's not a man. Like, do you want me to tell you what I just got for a text? It's lazy. And I'm jealous. OTAs. Keon White's doing great, and Drake May threw passes, and he's taking advantage of his opportunities. They're all being evaluated. And what else? Anything else happened today at the OTAs that anybody cares about?
There were a couple special guests that I think people were interested in.
Oh, really?
One, Steve Belichick was there, I believe.
Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator of Washington?
I believe so.
Remember his dad was wearing the whole Washington getup?
Yeah, you got to represent.
Do you think Bill was paid for that?
No.
No, he's getting paid by the Pats.
Another special guest, too. Former Indianapolis Colts head coach Tony Dungy was reportedly there.
How do you feel? I like that. Super Bowl winning coach, Hall of Famer.
I mean, you just got rid of one of those.
Who was his basically rival, right? Or at least for a period of time?
The thing with Dungy is he does kind of fit the new Patriots, right? Everything you hear about Dungy, soft-spoken guy, wouldn't yell, player-friendly, always had the players first. So I guess if that's really what they're going for down there, I guess Tony Dungy's a good guy to bring in.
Dungy would be a great role model for Mayo. or influence. The guy was a hell of a defensive coach, built the Tampa 2. Should have been a part of 2 Super Bowls, obviously, one with the Colts.
Should have won a lot more than they did, though.
Yeah. He really put together that Tampa Bay team. He really did. He won't get he gets credit, I think, for that, though.
Yeah, but for such a great defensive coach, wasn't Manning's flaw always that the narratives around Peyton Manning that he didn't have a good defense?
Can't win the big game.
Can't win the big one, and his defense always let him down.
Oh, this was the defense because Tony Dungy wasn't good enough, but Peyton was better. Oh, okay. But when Brady played, it was the defense early on, and then, okay. All right. We'll do more Patriots in a little bit. People are fired up. Oh, it's the Ferg. Ferg.
Joey Murray, what is up, my man?
Andy Ferg, the king of the North Shore Beefs. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm just calling out the national media for...
No, I'm listening. Yeah, you got to calm down, big guy.
No, I don't. They make way more money than I do, and they're takeless and talentless.
I mean, listen, I'm with you. I'm a scream machine just like you, but you have the blood pressure, brother.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
How many beers in a row could you chug, like speed wise? Like, could you do multiples in about a minute or so?
Oh yeah, I could probably do a 6-pack
in a minute.
Yeah, 1 minute 6-pack. That seems doable. I could shotgun them. They go down faster that way.
You got a big fest coming up?
Yes, there is something happening on Sunday. Ferg Fest. I named it after myself because I am an arrogant jerk. We have 2 bands. We have 4 4 trucks, and we have the Beer Man guy on Instagram all the following. Yeah, Phil's going to be there, kissing babies and signing boobs. It's going to be a fantastic day. We got a dunk tank.
You left out the beef.
Oh, we have the Beefy Boys truck.
No, but there's going to be a lot of beef, roast beef.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of things there. A lot of beefy men, a lot of roast beef, a lot of beer, a lot of pizza. The guy who's performing, Justin Clancy, he just did Boston Calling last week. He's a legit star.
Wow. Where can people find
you? Are you coming?
I maybe I have work, but where can people find you?
So North Shore Beefs on Instagram, North Shore Beefs on Facebook, and Eventbrite. You can find the tickets, and I'm offering you a VIP ticket.
A VIP beef?
A VI beef.
VIP beef. I love that.
You are my guest to come and walk around amongst the people and enjoy your fame.
I'll hit you up, Ferg. Appreciate you, my man.
No, definitely. Thanks, Joey.
Thank you. He's the king of the North Shore beef. Listen, I'm a poser. I just like it. All right, we got to go to break. Sorry about that. I yelled. I got upset. I'm jealous. I can't stand the guys who don't do research. It's very, one more take. One more on this one. Memorial Day weekend, it's like, yeah, man, I can do a radio show. I'm like, oh, yeah? Yeah, I can talk. I know my stuff. Yeah, okay. Uh-huh. So what have you done before? Nothing. I just know I can do it better than you. Okay. All right. Well, you should start with a podcast first. Like, Guitar Center should be a sponsor to this show because you can get a great podcast kit there. You know? But it's not easy. But I will tell you, on television, when you have multiple producers who create the content, lazy. All right, 617-779-0985. I got some odds for you on the Dallas series as well. I'm Joe Murray, and I'm Mad here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I've calmed down. Things got a little spicy tonight. I didn't mean for that to happen, but you know what? This is I'm this way on and off. Like, I don't know how to turn this off. Anyways, Timberwolves are 4.5-point favorites in Game 5. They were trailing 3-0 in the series. And in the Game 5, after trailing 0-2, so in the last 50 years, trailing 3-0 in Game 5s. Celtics were 8.5-point favorites in one and covered. And the 24 Wolves are 4.5-point favorites. It's the second highest since the Celtics against Miami in 23. And the other time it happened, it was the Celtics, who lost to the Magic in 2010. That was the Kevin Garnett injury year, if I recall. Yeah, Garnett got injured, I believe. Yep. So that's a huge spread. 4.5 at home, down 3-1 in the series. Vegas feels that Minnesota is going to extend the series. Who do you think they'll get for the official tomorrow night? Because, again, I said extend the series.
It's got to be the extender.
The extender. Scott Foster. Yes, I haven't seen him in a couple of days. Bring him in. Extend that series. Extend it. I know he's been waiting, so I'll get to him. Brendan's in Randolph. Hey, Brendan.
How's it going, guys?
How you doing?
Not too bad. I just had a quick take to get off about Stephen A. and ESPN. So all the things that they put out over at ESPN and just like the corporate umbrella that they have is just engagement bait at this point. They have pretty much nothing but revenue to go after, right? So all that matters is really enticing clickbaity YouTube headlines. And so that's why they really get these takes off. I mean, no one actually believes this garbage, but they know that people, especially Celtics fans, interact with it. So
they're not doing it.
Reason they do it.
Real quick, Brendan, they're not doing it to troll Boston.
Well, I don't think it's to troll.
No,
I think it's to make money.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. It's takeless.
Yeah.
But you know what, though?
It's completely stolen.
I do listen to these people, though, because, you know, how many guys are getting Danny Ainge for interviews? How many people are getting these stars after the games? Like to me, I use them as credible sources because they've been a credible resource. My problem is, like, if this is what you do every day, like we do a radio show every day. We at least reference an article, right? Oh, well, this is what they said in the article. I'll give you one right now. One I just saw on the Bill Simmons podcast. They literally just came out. So if anybody did their research, they would know that at the All-Star game this year, Jason Tatum went to Doc Rivers. He said, give Jaylen Brown, give him my minutes. I want to see him get MVP. Literally said that. Did any of those people do the research before they played that clip today? No.
I doubt it.
That's my point. These are people that were journalists and reporters for years, now no longer doing their research. Lazy.
Exactly. But that's the revenue stream right there.
Yeah. Well, where's my revenue stream? Where is our revenue stream? We're doing this every day. He's talking about river making money and revenue. Where's ours? We got to get to the headlines. Elliot Wolf spoke. He was on the Kay Adams show yesterday, but you know what? We couldn't get to it yesterday. So now we're going to get to it today. Let's get to the headlines right now. I'm Joe Murray.
WBCFM bus from the Town Fair Tire Studio, the home of the Bruins, Patriots, Revs, and Celtics.
Come on, Maxi, step back. Three is good.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Celtics await the winner of Dallas and Minnesota. Right now, T-Wolves minus 4.5 in Game 5, one of the highest in NBA playoff history when trailing 3-0 in a series. The Wizards have hired Brian Keefe as their new head coach. Red Sox currently in action right now, losing 5-1 to Baltimore. That game in the 6th inning. And the Patriots had OTAs today. They saw 3 quarterbacks in action: Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi, and Drake May. In the PWHL final, Boston playing Minnesota in the championship. No score after 1 period. Headlines, they are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Make a pledge not to buy bigger shorts this summer. Fit in the last year's shorts, or even last decade's shorts, in just weeks with Awaken 180. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update in 30 minutes.
If you've got the app, you've got Spirited Sports Talk.
I have one ear and I got that.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
When New England fans say, like, why didn't you spend the money? What is it because it's sort of like the Ted Thompson-y sort of, the draft is the foundation that we then build on? What would you say to fans who are like, why didn't we spend money?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would argue that we did spend money. We signed what we felt was the best offensive tackle in free agency.
Woohoo!
And the best tight end in free agency. They just so happen to be guys that we retain. So, we gave Kyle Duggar a contract extension. We added pieces at almost every level of the team. I think we signed a player at every position group except for linebacker. So, I think what you said about draft and develop, that's what we're going to be. That's what we strive to be. That's where the core and the foundation is going to be. And, some of our deals that we did in free agency were extending players that, we drafted and developed previously. So I think that's the key. We were in on a lot of players. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we just felt like they either, it just didn't make sense financially. And free agency is a hit or miss business. We were hit or miss in 2021. We have a few guys that are still here and a few that didn't work out when we spent all that money. So, every situation is different. And we feel like we did what was best for the team.
All right, that's Elliot Wolf. We're going to talk to Chris Mason from Mass Live. He was down at OTAs today. We'll get his thoughts on everything. But he had a message to the fans. We signed what we felt was the best offensive tackle in free agency and the best tight end in free agency. I know it's Corfor is one of them. I know Hunter Henry was one of those guys. And some were guys they retained. Kyle Duggar is back with an extension. The KJ Osborne one, I think, could be their biggest play. Osborne had to be a starter in Minnesota with all their injuries. I think that's going to be their best signing. So as of, May 29th, I will say that I think he's their best signing. But a couple of things have popped up here. I heard one, Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal, mentioned that some of the people that he spoke with, some of his sources, mentioned that the Patriots had some red flags on some guys, but still drafted them this year. Javon Baker, one of those guys. So we'll look into that one coming up a little bit more and throughout this offseason, but maybe there were more reaches this year. I mean, Belichick always reached, right? But maybe there were more reaches this year. I think they didn't spend this offseason. I think they tried to, they wanted to, they told you they were, and then they didn't. And then nobody wanted to come to New England is another thing. So, do I think they had a good offseason? No. I think their offseason was a joke. But I will tell you this. I thought Elliot Wolf was good this year. I think he should be the guy going forward. I think he drafted pretty well. One of the things he mentioned, and we'll get into it later, but he was actually upset. One of his regrets was he only drafted one defensive guy. He wanted to get more defensive guys because, obviously, Gerard Mayo, defensive coach, and Covington he mentioned as well. Also, Elliot Wolf did talk about Drake May's development, and I don't know if you got that scaz back there. It's in that rundown I sent you, but he was on the Kay Adams show, and Kay Adams was kind of making jokes about how she really wants to meet Alex Van Pelt because they've talked about how good he is with quarterbacks and working with footwork and how to show a play fake and things of that degree, which is things I think that can help quarterbacks already on the roster, like Bailey Zappi. But talking with Kay Adams, here's Elliot Wolf talking about the development for Drake May along with Alex Van Pelt.
Coach Mayo said that OC Alex Van Pelt is the lead guy in Drake's development. I've heard great things about him. You were a part of bringing him to New England. You spent 6 years with him in Green Bay when he was Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach. So what is it about this guy that people need to know, rivals need to know, your own fan base needs to know that gets the best out of whoever, like you're saying, the quarterback might be?
I would say, and again, this is something that's important to myself and Gerard as well, and that's why, including Van Pelt and DeMarcus Covington, our defensive coordinator, Jeremy Springer, our special teams coordinator, all of us really care about developing people and care about being good teammates. And that's really one thing that Coach Van Pelt has brought with him from Cleveland and some of his other stops. The very first, again, it's voluntary during OTAs, but the very first meeting they had offensively, it was really just a who are you session. Like get to know everybody in the room, get to know everybody, what they're about, what's their why. And him being able to develop those relationships with the players and obviously his vast offensive knowledge from all the stops that he's had, those are some things that are going to mesh well and really try to get the best out of the players that we have.
All right. They're getting some development. Tom Curran, I heard him on my way in today. He was on NBC Sports Boston. He mentioned that he has seen progression just from week to week. From the last time he's seen him to now, he's seen a progression in Drake May. I'm in the camp of letting him sit. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want. But I think that Green Bay and the Elliot Wolf way and the Packer way and all that stuff has worked. I think right now, with Gerard Mayo being in his first year, he's going to have a ton of growing pains. The roster is not that... I shouldn't say the roster is not that great. They might not just be filled with elite talent where they can just show up and talent will win. I think Van Pelt's going to be really good for the quarterbacks. I think he's going to be great for Zappi, but people don't want to hear me talk about Bailey Zappi because he's still there. He's still there. We'll have more on that later on tonight's guest.
For now.
No, you're right. You're right. Why is Zappi taking more reps than Drake May? I fully agree with that. I agree with that. But I'm fine with the course of action of Jacoby Brissett. But I would like to see if Gerard Mayo can coach. So you're going to hear me say that a lot this offseason. Oh, they got this guy, they got that guy, they did that. No, can Mayo coach? That's all I want to know. Can he be a first-year coach with a roster that's a little underwhelming, with a good defense that he knows? I don't know what the quarterback situation will be. Brissett, I think, will be fine. But in a perfect world, I would go Drake May right away. But for this year, I have no problem with him sitting behind Brissett at least for a couple of weeks. But if he continues to progress, might have to get him on the field. So your thoughts as we're here until 11 o'clock tonight. I know Chris Mason's going to join us in a little bit here. He was down at OTAs today, so we'll ask him about everybody. I'm just not ready for Patriots season yet. Guys, I don't know if it's the whole finals ahead. Like, it just, football, I think, is 99 days away. And I'm just not, Christina's got her football shirt. Is that the bus? Yeah, she's got her jersey on. I'm just not ready. I haven't even got my bet in on the over-under yet, even though I think I'm going to bet under. But, hey, let's get excited. Let's talk to Chris Mason from Mass Live, get his thoughts of everything happening over at OTAs. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening.
What's the vibe like at Patriots OTAs right now?
I mean, it's all good vibes right now, right? They haven't played a snap yet. Everything is good. They've got new posters up at the facility. Everything's happy because, games haven't started yet. Good vibes down there for sure.
So when you say that they've changed some things around, how different is for you going in there? And so far, how has camp been for you? And could you mention some of the other changes that maybe you're seeing actually on the field?
For us, it's largely the same. It's still just watching practice, talking to guys. We are allowed to use the same stairs the players use now. Before, we would have to go up through a back elevator so that there was no chance of running into players. That's a minor media adjustment, but by and large, it's the same experience. It's OTAs.
It's OTAs, exactly. So let's get into it. We were just kind of talking about Drake May, his development. Obviously, 3 quarterbacks there today. I'm not sure if you got an update on Joe Milton, but you watched them all throw today. What were your initial reactions to seeing Drake May and some of the passing drills?
I would say today was like an up-and-down day for Drake, where he started slow, but then definitely heated up during 7-on-7 periods. I mean, the one thing that really jumped out to me is the rotation they're still doing, where there's one competitive 11-on-11 period where, starters came from both fields, first offense, first defense type thing. And Jacoby Brissett was the first quarterback out there, which you expect. Bailey Zappi was the second quarterback. Then Jacoby Brissett came back out for a third set. And then Drake May went in for a fourth. Then they went Jacoby Brissett fifth and Bailey Zappi sixth. And so at that point, it's not even that Drake is the third-string quarterback behind Bailey Zappi, but it's also that Zappi's getting more reps than him in this drill. And at this point, I don't really understand why you would do that. Because it seems like, based on what Gerard Mayo had said and what Albert Breer reported after a conversation with Gerard Mayo, they only want to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster by the time training camp starts. And I think it's pretty obvious who the odd man out there is going to be, right?
Well, is it? Again, why the extra reps? Isn't this something that Drake May should be getting? I mean, it talks about his footwork and maybe a little bit of a hitch in his throw. Isn't he the guy that should be getting those reps? And I guess I should ask you, is there an update on Joe Milton?
I haven't heard anything on Milton, but absences can be a lot of different things this time of year. It could be, I don't know, like a graduation or something like that. There's a million different things with OTAs, so I haven't heard anything on that front. But I would like to see more Drake May personally. I don't understand what the Bailey Zappi extended reps are for at this point because, if you're carrying 3 quarterbacks into training camp, I think it's pretty obviously going to be Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, and Joe Milton, the 2 guys who you just spent draft picks on, and Milton being the longer-term project. If anything, maybe Bailey Zappi would compete with him for a third spot, but I don't think you would draft a guy in the 6th round just to cut him 2 months later.
All right, talking with Chris Smith. He's from Mass Live, and just real quick, Chris, because one of the things I noticed today, just with this team, you mentioned I was reading your article earlier about the rotation when it came to the wide receivers. And what are you seeing? Who popped to you? Who didn't pop today? And what are some of the things that you've seen?
Javon Baker was probably the best wideout I saw today, where he had one catch that was down the sideline. Marco Wilson was in tight coverage, where that's another part of it. Gonzalez and Jonathan Jones haven't been getting a ton of reps at this point. Jonathan Jones wasn't even there today. But with Marco Wilson in tight coverage, he jumped over him down the sideline, tapped both feet inbounds. And it was such a good catch that Ramondre Stevenson ran down the field 25 yards to congratulate him. He was that pumped up. And you don't see a ton of that at OTAs. And Ramondre is relatively mild-mannered in general. So I thought that was a testament to how good that grab was. So Baker looks good. And then Tyquan Thornton had a nice day. I would hesitate to fire up the Tyquan Thornton bandwagon right now just because they're in T-shirts. He's not getting off press coverage. He's not getting hit. He doesn't have to stay healthy. But I think he had 4 catches in team drills today. And that's if he's got any shot of making this 53, he's got to have a strong summer from start to finish. So a fast start today certainly isn't going to hurt him.
And Chris Mason joining us. I called you Smith. Now you know what it is? We have Keith Smith coming up later, so that's why I screwed it all up. But I got to put respect on the name because you mentioned these wide receivers here. I'm interested in KJ Osborne. I think that's a guy that can play on the boundary. Has been a starter in the league, no matter how you want to look at it. had a nice little run with the Vikings, but I think he has familiarity, obviously, with the Miami connection, with New England and all that. But have you seen him at all, and is he a guy that looks like that could make an impact as a free agent?
In the 2 days that we've been down there, he hasn't really upped at any point, but I mean, this is also, I think it's day 5 of OTAs for them, and the media have only been at 2 of them, right? So there's one day where he could have had 7 catches, and we wouldn't know that because we're not there. So he hasn't really jumped out in the first 2 days that we've been down there, but we're very, very early in the process still.
Steve Belichick was there today. Also, Tony Dungy. Was it weird seeing one or the other, or what were your feelings on that, and was there a message from Tony Dungy?
So Dungy wasn't there today. He was there last week. And
okay.
Gerard mentioned it, or one of the previous ones where I don't think media was present for it. I think it was last week. But Gerard was just talking about like the relationship that he has with him this morning and being able to bounce things off of him and how he was helpful. I did think it was telling, though, that Steve Belichick was there today, where I was genuinely very surprised. It was funny. I was sitting next to Mark Daniels, and at one point, like, I looked over, and I thought I saw Steve Belichick, and I was like, is this like a Pavlov's dog thing where I've just seen Steve Belichick on the practice field so many times that I'm still seeing him there? And it's like, nope, that's him. He's not with the staff anymore. He's at the University of Washington. He was there today. So I think that probably speaks to how the Belichicks are like, I have no idea how Bill feels ultimately about his relationship with Robert, but obviously, like, Steve still feels good enough that he's coming to Gerard's practices, and Brian is obviously still on the staff. So I don't think feelings are as hard there as some people have made them out to be.
Elliot Wolf was on with the Up and Adams show. He said a bunch of things. He talked about free agency and not spending. He kind of pushed back on it. When he talked about Alex Van Pelt working with Drake May, and the other thing was that are the Patriots a playoff team? Just your opinion, right? I know you got to go down there and see them the next day, so things change over time. But what do you think of them as a team at the moment?
I don't think they're a playoff team, and I think Elliot did a really good job in answering that. Where Kay asked him straight up, like, "Are the Patriots a playoff team?" And he's like, "Well, look, we're not playoffs or bust this year. We're trying to see progress, and that's what we want to see." And I think that's ultimately like a way more realistic goal is that if you have Drake May playing well in December and it looks like things are on the upturn for next year, I think like that'll be a more successful season for them than I think the playoffs are a pipe dream, honestly. Like coming off a 4-13 season, you're overhauling the roster. Not only do you have a new quarterback, you're going to have a new quarterback either way, right? Because it's Jacoby or Drake, even if it's ultimately going to be Drake. You also have the new head coach. You have a new GM. Like everything is new, and those turnarounds don't just happen overnight. So I think it's going to take time. I think it's going to be a work in progress. And if they're playing good football in December and building momentum to next year, I think, and Drake May looks good, if he looks like the guy, I think that's how you would gauge a successful season with these guys.
So you right now, from what you see, they're not even close to a playoff team. Do you think they're a 4 or 5 win team based on what you're seeing?
In a mailbag that I had either last week or the week before, a way too early prediction was 6-11. I think they're in that ballpark though, like maybe 5, maybe 6 if things break right. Like, but I think this is very clearly going to be a bridge rebuilding type year for them. But I mean, it should be more exciting than like watching the offense last year if Drake May's out there. So I mean, I think there's a reason for fans to tune in, but I would not expect a playoff push this year.
And what are some of the rotations on the offensive line been? I think they brought Andrews back because maybe he had some considerations of not coming back. I mean, $8 million, that's a good reason to come back. But, they've drafted it on the line the last couple of years. They lost on Cole Strange. What does it look like to you, and do you think they'll still struggle at that position?
The left tackle spot concerns me absolutely with Chukwuekorafo and Caden Wallace both not playing left tackle in a very long time. They've both been on the right side for at least 5 years, Wallace in college and Okorafor professionally. That's a really tough flip to make. So the left tackle thing, I think there is some cause for concern there. They've been rotating the guards a ton early on, and I think that is going to be sneaky, one of the biggest competitions of camp. I know people don't really want to talk about guard competitions a lot of the time, but I think that's going to be a really competitive area. And then I think Mike Onwenu is going to lock down the right tackle with Andrews at center.
Yeah, lineman talk, right? This is what everybody's fired up for. Keon White was a guy that Gerard Mayo said has been standing out and showing leadership. The guy's he's a mammoth, right? He's a specimen.
Yep.
But have you seen more from him, or does he just stand out because he's so big?
It's really hard for defensive linemen to stand out at this time of year, which is why, like, there were a lot more absences today, and a lot of them were, like, front seven guys. And as a defensive lineman, I don't know how much you're going to get out of these OTA sessions. You know, like, if you're an offensive lineman, yeah, you're installing a whole new playbook. Some of these guys are flipping spots, yada, yada, yada. Defensive line, it's a lot more see ball, get ball, and that sort of, and they're not in pads right now. So, I think Keon's presence is standing out. Like, I think if you're a younger defensive lineman, it makes sense to go there. And, you know, when Gerard was talking about him this morning, he's like, well, he's leading drills, and I'm seeing a little more leadership from him in that regard. But in terms of standing out on the field, for defensive linemen right now, it's really tough to do that just because it's not contact, right?
Yeah. Was there anyone that stood out to you? Offense, defense, even special teams for that matter, speed, someone that looks like a intriguing prospect to keep their eye on?
Alex Austin is a cornerback who's caught my eye a bit the past, 2 OTAs now, where he played well down the stretch in December, and he's been getting a lot of reps now because they're definitely easing Christian Gonzalez and Marcus Jones back in, and John Jones, he wasn't there at all today, so the reps are there for Alex Austin against top-tier guys. I think he's looked good through, too, and I think you can read a little bit more into, you know, the cornerback wide receiver play at these, like OTAs used to be called passing camp, right? So he's someone who has been a pleasant surprise thus far, and we'll see if he can keep building on it.
And finally, the new special teams kickoffs. Have you watched any of the any of the drills on this? Dude, I don't know what to do here. Like, you know, this has never been practiced at any level. I don't even know. Like, if I was, would you be like an offensive lineman up front? Like, what do you put a linebacker there? How do you even know where to put guys in a position who can block and how to set it up? Have you seen any of the drills yet?
Not really, and it's like they've been doing a little more punt return at this point. But we were talking to Chad Ryland after practice. A few of us were, and it seems like they were still working out the kinks where he was asked, like, have you talked to any XFL guys about, like, how to best kick off and how to do things like that? And he was like, no, like, we're still trying to work through it. So I think that's going to be a work in progress for the entire league this summer. And I'm sure they're going to drill it a lot more during training camp and OTAs right now, where it probably makes sense to focus on the simpler things and the more base concepts than getting real abstract with the kickoffs. I think that'll come with more time this summer. So, yeah, they should be crazy.
I would just put Marcus Jones and Tyquan. Like, Tyquan Thornton might have a roster spot because of this.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he's going to be fighting an uphill battle for a roster spot. But, hey, like I said earlier, 4 catches in team drills today, so little momentum.
A little momentum there. All right, he's Chris Mason. Let me get that right. Hey, real quick.
It's cool. We've got like 15 Chris's in Mass Live, so it's not a big deal.
Smitty's there too. Well, I think he was there, anyways. But
Smitty's there. We got Patillo. We got a lot of Chris's.
I know all those guys. And now you're a part of it, Chris. Hey, real quick. You mentioned that I see in your bio soup of the day. So, I mean, I'm intrigued by that. Could you tell us more?
Oh, that was not actual soup of the day, regrettably. When I was at the Herald, I was just doing general assignment stuff when I was starting out, and they sent me to literally anything you can think of on the sports side. Like, I probably have covered it at some point because if the Herald wanted to cover it, they were going to send a 22-year-old, 23-year-old who's, you know, trying to find his way, is going to say yes to every single assignment.
Yep.
And that's how your boy ended up covering figure skating one time.
Oh, wow.
Like NASCAR. The figure skating was a big, like, why don't you tell me what happened out there? Because I wasn't too sure. But then ultimately there worked up to baseball as a backup Red Sox beat writer for him for a bit and then moved on from there.
I just get quotes. Yeah, this is what they said.
Yeah.
Just fill up the whole.
That story was like, I can assure you that was like 80% quotes.
Well, now that I'm thinking about soup, what is your favorite soup?
Oh, broccoli cheddar off the top of my head. I like a good broccoli cheddar.
You know who makes a good broccoli cheddar? The 99.
I don't think I've had theirs.
Oh, listen.
Noted.
Right before you get your gold fever wings, get their broccoli and cheddar. It is it's an outstanding. So, all right, Chris, this is good.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Maybe that could be like, a new thing. Let me give you the broccoli and cheddar from today's game. Let me give you the soup. He's Chris
I don't
Mason.
know, man. That could be pretty cheesy. It could be pretty cheesy.
Oh, there you go. He's Chris Mason. Check him out on Twitter at @ByChrisMason. He works over at Mass Live. Chris, appreciate it, man. We'll catch up down the road.
All right, thanks, Joe. Sounds good.
He is Christopher Mason. Chris Mason, excuse me. Broccoli and cheddar soup, huh? I like to put my crackers in my soup. Now, is it the oyster cracker, or is it like those other ones that have a little saltine-ish thing kind of look? You know what I'm talking about? I crack them in the bag first, and then I dump them out. Crack them all up. All right, let's get to the headlines here. I'm Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub. Tonight.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
This is for both Cam and Don. Ty Anderson, 95 The Sports Hub. Linus Ullmark has made it pretty clear that he loves being here, and if he has his say, he wants to stay here. Is it feasible? Is it realistic to have potentially 12 mil, 13 mil in goaltending, given the needs and the aggressiveness that you've talked about displaying in other positions this summer?
Well, I appreciate you negotiating for Jeremy in terms of doing the math, reverse engineering of math. But again, those things will take care of themselves. No conversation I'm going to have, with a player in terms of what we're trying to do until we have to have a conversation is really going to get public. And I hope you all respect that, because ultimately that's what a player, as a former player, I would hope would happen. We're going to find a landing spot with Jeremy Swayman, and if we can make the math work, we're going to have the best tandem. If we can't, we're going to explore, or Linus, may come to us and change his mind. That may occur as well. Right now, he's really happy. We were very happy to sign Linus, and in a perfect world, we would keep the tandem, because I think it's damn good. But we're going to explore opportunities. My phone's going to ring. I'm going to make calls. That's just what the job requires. And fortunately, at times, unfortunately, things start to leak out. And that's your job. You guys do a hell of a job of figuring those things out, piecing them together. Some guys are really wrong, but it doesn't stop you from throwing it out there, and that's okay. It's good for the business overall. It's good for hockey in terms of drawing attention and eyes to it. So I understand it.
All right, back here at 98.5, the Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. That was Don Sweeney in a long-winded answer about the future of Linus Ullmark. We're touching on everything tonight. Literally everything. So we'll do a little bit of a Patriots. We're getting back to the Celtics in a bit. There's just more coming out from the national media. Just a lot more just coming out on them. So we'll certainly have more from you coming up in just a little bit. But things are starting to get a little spicy. They're heating up. Regarding Linus Ullmark and the future and what could be next for him and where could he go, et cetera, et cetera. This guy's as good as gone, if you ask me. And maybe some of the things he said this offseason or whatever, I think he's playing his cards right. Maybe he's hoping a team reaches out to him or reaches out to them and offers up a good deal. Moving on from $5 million and a good goaltender, you better get something back in return. But the Bruins have options, and I'm reading here today from Ty Anderson, 98.5thesportshub.com. He had a chance to ask him that question. Mentioned that things will take care of themselves. And they're going to find the best landing spot. And calls have already been happening. The old 32 Thoughts podcast, is that Elliot Friedman? I do believe the Bruins and the Hurricanes talked about an Ullmark deal. Now, number one, it has to be recognized that Ullmark would have to be able to go there. And I don't know where Carolina is or is not on that list. But I do believe it's something these two teams talked about. Wow, Ullmark to Carolina, huh? It's another team that the Bruins battle with, right? Would they be against doing so? What would they get in return? That'd be interesting. Guys, just real quick, do you think that they would look for a young player or a forward that can play? I feel like they already have a couple of young players. I want a guy that can play.
If it's Carolina, the name that Ty brought up and you keep seeing on Twitter and stuff is Martin Nikas. And I think, he's a defenseman who feels like he's been underutilized in Carolina. So someone like that definitely piques my interest. Him and Pasternak just playing together over at the Worlds. They just won the gold over there. So maybe Pasternak's doing a little bit of recruiting, you would hope almost. Kyrie Irving-esque at one of these events, trying to recruit a new teammate. But yeah, I think everyone feels the way that they need to move Ullmark. Maybe not. Maybe need is a little strong, but building the team out with Ullmark as an asset is something that I think a lot of people would like to see them do.
One thing about Martin Nikas that you mentioned, they specifically said at their press conference they want to get faster, right? And DeBrusque, I think, is one of their fastest guys, but Nikas is one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. 24 goals, 53 points, 77 games. Nice little postseason run. And I'll have to look up the salary on him. But you need speed, right? You probably need it back there, too. I'd be interested in that one. All right, 4.4 million. Would the Bruins have to eat some of that? I don't know. Like, would they have to eat the Allmark salary, I guess is where I'm going with it. So there you go. Little update. In case you were wondering what was going on with the Bees. We're on Allmark watch. I think we all are. And, of course, Ty Anderson's going to get you caught up on everything happening over at 985thesportshub.com. Mentions that the Senators, Kings, Devils, among several teams interested in Linus Allmark. Those were, at least before the deadline, those were the teams. And I'm not sure what the list is. I know the Kings are on the list. And now has the list adjusted a bit since now they're into a new season. Very interesting on that one. But I think that's one of the biggest priorities for this offseason. 617-779-0985. Patriots are on the table. The Celtics as well. Let's talk to Eric. He's in Boston. What's up, Eric?
How you doing, Joe? I'm just getting sick and tired of the national media trashing the Celtics. We had a great year. They've done good. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, can't split them up. I think that like natural feud is going to happen, but I think they're really hyping it up more than it needs to be. They've had a great year, great playoffs so far, and I just think we just got to let it ride and see what happens. And I think either matchup is a good matchup, going to be a good series. We got to see what happens, but I'm hoping for a banner this year.
All right, buddy, I like your accent. This year. Yeah, national media, my whole thing is, again, you can be critical about their path or Jason Tatum's shooting percentage from three or how they are in their pick-and-roll defense or playing with leads. You want to be critical about all that stuff? Go ahead. But looking at how one celebrates the other, lazy, takeless. Jeremy's in Cambridge. Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, I was wondering what your thoughts were on the probable Derek White extension. It's my understanding the CBA is a little bit more restrictive this time around, and if they were to re-sign him, would that cause them to make sacrifices in other areas?
No, they have his bird rights, which means that any number that they do work with him doesn't necessarily hurt the salary cap. So they can pay him however much they want. They might get into the next luxury tax or one of the next aprons there, but re-signing him doesn't impact anybody else not being on the team.
Oh, okay, so it looks like they'll re-sign him then, it sounds like.
Oh, he's going to get paid. I mean, what's in his best interest, to sign an extension or wait till free agency, you know?
Oh, I'm just wondering if Wick's going to pony up, but it seems like he will based on his prior actions.
There you go, Jeremy. Giving Wick his props. He has. Maybe it was White who said, let's play it out. I mean, White's going to get way more money if this offseason than he would have if he signed an extension last year. He bet on himself. Joe's in the car. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Joe?
How you
What's
doing?
going on, Joe? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Joe, I wanted to ask you, buddy, what do you think the Boston fans and just the media, the overall consensus, if the Celtics don't win at all, like, do they go ahead and re-sign Porzingis? I know he's got, I think, a year left. Do they give Jason Tatum the max contract? There's some guys that they're going to have to sign. Like, there's no reason, in my mind, that the Celtics should not win this thing. The whole thing. There's just no. I cannot see this team losing. But if they,
I'm sorry, Joe. We lost you. The static there. The static. Kristaps Porzingis signed an extension, so he's going nowhere. Drew Holiday as well. In case you weren't watching, he has signed an extension. Jaylen Brown has signed a super max extension. He makes a lot of money and will be here for a long time. And then this offseason, Jason Tatum is going to be eligible for the super max, and he's going to make like $60 million for a very long time. And then this offseason, they have an extension that they can offer Derek White. I believe he's eligible for a 4-year, $123 million extension. I think it's going to be more than that. But he's eligible for that. My thing with White is, do you want the $123 million guaranteed, or do you bet on yourself and become a free agent? And if that's the case, you can get a big contract and the Celtics can still sign and trade him. That's 2 years away. The envy of the NBA is the Celtics. They're set up perfectly. But yes, they do have to win that championship this year. All right, 617-779-0985. Oh, guess what we have next? In or out? All that coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the Weekdays, afternoons, right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best success.
Giant, big actress. No?
No, never watched 90210. I think that was a little before my time.
Christina watch it?
Oh, yeah.
How does she know and you don't?
Yeah, same. She's a little older than me, I think.
Oh. By 1 year?
1 year.
Well, that 1 year was a Sharknado.
That's where I missed it.
What were we talking about again? Dwayne Wade, fine. I'm in. Fine. Do I care about anything Dwayne Wade? You know what? I'm out. I don't care about anything Dwayne Wade has to say. He rode Shaq's coattails. He rode LeBron's coattails. He was good.
Yeah, he was the best player on that Miami team. The first one. When Shaq was old.
Dwayne Wade was a phenomenal basketball player, but unfortunately, I'll remember Shaq and LeBron before him. Facts.
Fair.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're on basketball.
I'm glad we agreed on that one.
That the Larry Bird Museum will be opening up in Indiana. Joe, are you in or out on the Larry Bird Museum?
So I've only heard about the Larry Bird Museum from a man named Glenn Ordway, who was the host of the famous Big Show, or as many else would know, as the voice of the Celtics after Johnny Most. So so I guess from what I read, Ordway is going to be the narrator. So when you come in, he'll be like, "Welcome to Best of All Time." I'm in. Larry Bird Museum? In. By the way, I heard today that McHale and Bird didn't like each other. You know what? I'm going to save the rant for a little bit. Star players don't have to get along to win. Unfortunately, when they actually get along, people have a problem with it. Not us people.
If you win, we don't care how the pizza is made.
Yes. I'll make pizza. I'll make a pie. You want cookies? What? The trophy. I don't care if they made it out of tin foil. You know the little chocolate balls that have the gold on it? I don't care if the trophy's made of that. Like a Rolo.
Banners, at least appropriate banners, hang forever.
Yes. You know what Rolos are, right?
Yes.
The candy?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. Sometimes I feel like an old timer.
No, I know my candies.
You know your candy. In or out here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, Joe, while we're on sports, this is from Tom Pelissero earlier today. But the NFL Players Association is working to finalize a deal starting as soon as the offseason of 2025, eliminating OTAs, parts of training camp, and it would make guys not have to report until mid-June to early July. Are you in or out on potentially the end of OTAs?
Out. Out. Listen, I never played in the NFL. I never played at a high level. But when you're an athlete, you're conditioned to knowing when you need to arrive. You get your body in shape at certain times. People use OTAs as a form to either come back from injury or do an OTA. You're going to go away for a bit. You're going to come back. You're going to have another OTA. And then bing, bang, boom, camp is going to begin. Some people don't get in shape until then. But if you pull all that away and make people work out on their own, you're going to have more injuries to the game. See, the NFL, the whole pigs get fat, pigs get slaughtered, it's coming, everyone. You want to watch them on all your streams and all this beams and this and that? When you practice less, you get hurt more, the product's worse. Out. If you're not practicing in June, in July, you're not ready for August. And then you can't play if you're in the tub. What was the famous line by quote by Bill Parcells? But yeah, you can't play if you're injured. Nah, whatever. I can't find it.
All right, Joe, we'll end with this one tonight.
You can't play if you're in the tub.
The best ability is availability.
Yes.
Netflix has greenlit a new reality show called $1 Million Secret. The show starts with one player winning $1 million, while the other 11 contestants must hunt them down to claim it for themselves, eliminating that player from the game. Meanwhile, the millionaire can get rid of the cash at any moment if the heat becomes too much. Are you in or are you out?
I need you to repeat that.
All right, Netflix has greenlit $1 Million Secret.
Okay, $1 Million Secret. It's a show.
The show starts with 12 contestants.
There's 12 contestants battling over money.
One player is awarded the $1 million to start the show.
So at the beginning, somebody gets the money.
Yes.
Got it.
And then they basically are on the run. And it is up to the other 11 contestants to try and hunt them down. And if they are found or caught, whatever it is, that player is eliminated from the game. And then the person who caught them gets the $1 million, and then they are on
Are they
the
on
run.
an island or is it like anywhere?
That I don't know. It seems like it's in very early development. But the millionaire can ditch the cash at any moment if the heat becomes too much. Joe, are you in or out?
I'm out. You know why? I don't understand. So we're going to start a contest with money, and then it's going to get too much for someone, and then they're going to bail, and someone else is going to take. So basically, people are going to just be trying to. It's like kill the man with the ball. Well, in a different term, tackle the man with the ball.
Tackle the guy with $1 million.
Tackle the guy with the $1 million.
I think I'm in. Like, what if this is like just in the U.S. and they're like, you can go anywhere? You should go hide somewhere.
Well, how are you going to be able to afford to keep up with a millionaire?
That's a good point. Maybe you get a budget. I don't know. We're going to have to dive into this further, but
now we have to watch the show.
Yeah, how long do they get?
As of right now, I'm out.
I like it.
You know why? It's too complicated. The TV I watch nowadays, like I had to stop it the other night. I think I told you about this, but I watched that movie, Glass Onion.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that yet. But
I'm halfway through.
I've heard good things.
I'm halfway through. But I had to stop because, I got confused.
It's like a murder mystery.
Yeah, I want, just... When I put something on, I want it to be easy on my brain. I don't want to, I don't want to have to think too much, Sometimes thinking too much is when you think you stink. That was a good football line growing up. Just block the guy in front of you when you think you stink. All right, coach. Anything else we can be? Oh, and I put this one in the chat. In or out on...
Directionally correct. Yeah, I'd put it under the soup category.
What was that quote earlier about Jaylen Brown? Yeah, a force multiplier?
Chowder, a soup multiplier.
It is. You can put corn, clams, lobster, bisque. People are in. So is that Survivor with money? $1
million.
Survivor with $1 million is not enough anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would
ask
agree.
Stephen A. and all those guys who show up every day and make more than that to give takeless opinions. We got to go to break. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the town fair time.
is according to Jay and Hull. A rich soup, typically containing fish, clams, or corn with potatoes and onions. Therefore, the chowder is in the soup family. Also, I was trying to think of the famous Bill Parcells quote someone called in, Skess.
Yes, you can't make the club from the tub.
Why couldn't I remember that? So easy, right? That's why Bill Parcells was great. So easy, so good. Can't make the club from the tub, baby. Can't make the club from the tub. We're going to talk to our buddy Keith Smith coming up in a bit. Destiny's in Georgia. Hi, Destiny.
Hi.
Hi.
It's Jesse.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm listening to you guys talk to those different people about the Celtics.
Yep.
And the guy that hate Tatum. Tatum don't care whether they hate him or not. All he want to do is win.
That's right.
And they going to win the championship.
How many games?
I'll say in 5.
Yeah. What do you think of these people trying to say that Tatum and Brown they have a bad relationship?
I don't think they have a bad relationship. They are a team, and they let you know they are a team. Tatum don't have to do all that all the time. If Brown is doing it, Tatum just play accordingly, and the others. They can't play. All of them can't be playing and making 40 and 30 points. But Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they make the best. They was making 40, and Tatum was making 50 and points all season. And then he just cooled down. He plays when he's needed, and when he needs to be there, he plays.
What part of Georgia are you from?
Atlanta.
Atlanta? Who's from Atlanta, Georgia? From the Celtics?
There's a lot of Celtics fans from Georgia and Atlanta. I lived in Boston for a while.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, though. That's the guy. Yeah,
Jaylen's good. He just needs to practice a little more free throwing sometime.
I know.
In the
offseason.
That's
you call in anytime, all right?
Yes.
Appreciate you. Telling it like it is in Georgia. Gotta go down to Georgia. Gotta go with friends of mine. Hey, speaking of friends of ours, we're going to talk to NBA insider Keith Smith coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
11 o'clock tonight. We've been mixing in some Celtics Patriots stuff as well. We're, now 8 days away. We got more time as we await who the Celtics will play in the NBA Finals. And a lot going on nationally. A narrative, I like to use the word chronicle, from other people. I think at times they might be uninformed, so they give lazy takes. Saying there might be an issue between Brown and Tatum. I guess people just haven't done their research on that one. So it's easy to be, a national pundit and do all that. But we're going to give you the facts here. So let's go to the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline right now. Welcome in Basketball Insider. His name's Keith Smith. He does a podcast, a front office show, Spotrac as well. What's going on, Keith? How about this narrative around the Celtics nationally that it's an easy path and potentially Brown and Tatum don't get along?
I think they all hate each other. It's been awful all year. This team was lucky to win a single game. I mean, it's been beyond silly for really even before the playoffs started. The people, I think what happens with the very best teams is people go into such a mindset of we got to find a way to tear them down, instead of just saying, hey, all right, they're really good. And maybe the rational take is they're maybe going to win the whole thing. It's not. Let me get contrary here and tell you why they won't win. And now we're back to guys don't like each other when there's not even any evidence of that. Like that part to me was today. I was like, well, wow, we are in for a long week plus before game one gets here. If this is how we're starting it.
Oh, yeah, and it's been going on for a while. It's something we detailed. I even think locally here, a lot of people are critical because of the teams of the past, right? They've have struggled at home, game sevens, etc. I think we've seen the growth, right? I mean, like the additions of Holiday, with Marcus Smart out and some others, like you clearly see the growth. Clearly, they also have to win a championship. They're 4 games away from doing that. But what other types of growth have you seen from the Celtics team?
Yeah, I think what's been interesting is watching really all year, the criticism the last few years was they get too ISO heavy at the end of games. And I always thought that's been a little bit overblown because if you watch, as I do, the entire league, everybody goes to their best player in isolation at the end of games. Watch what the Mavericks have been doing with Luka and or Kyrie. They try to get them isolated and get them in a good spot. The Timberwolves do the same thing with Edwards. It's just kind of how it works. But the other den last year was they shoot too many three-pointers. Well, this year they shot even more three-pointers, and they really amped that up. They move the ball quite well, I think, in a lot of ways. I thought the ends of the games against Cleveland and Indiana, especially because the Heat games just weren't close enough to see it. I thought we saw real growth with this team, or it wasn't just, all right, one guy's going to stand around, dribble it for 20 seconds, and then launch a contested step back, either Tatum or Brown. It was, all right, we're going to move it. We're going to get downhill. We're going to kick it out. We're going to trust the shooters. We're going to trust other guys to make plays. And I feel like anybody who's still just repeating this team can't win in the clutch, it's funny. I saw an argument today where one person said, well, actually, their clutch numbers are pretty, they haven't played anybody. Oh, okay. So we're just going to the next card in the deck of, here's reasons why none of this really matters. I find it all to be extremely confusing.
I feel like right now the Celtics are the envy of the league. And it's not about just winning this year. They're set up, if they do win this year, they're set up to be potentially back-to-back winners, a dynasty, any of that stuff. And with all the new salary cap rules, that kind of prohibits a lot of teams to do that, right? The Warriors are the last real dynasty, but with everything that changes now and max contracts, et cetera, I don't know if you'll see their next dynasty. So that's why I think they're taking so much criticism. But, when you are the best team in the regular season, it sets up to have an easier road. I feel like people don't want to, accept that when it comes to this team. But I think right now they are the envy of the NBA.
I think there's definitely some of that, too. I think of what happens with this team is with being set up really well is their 2 best players are just getting into their prime years right now. They went out and sure, they're super expensive and they're going to be expensive, but they did it purposely with guys that they believe can be part of this team for the next, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, as they build this thing out with Holiday, with White, with Porzingis. I'm not going to presume to think Al Horford will still be around, but they've been working on developing guys. They retained Peyton Pritchard. They did stuff where the idea was let's build something sustainable here. And then I think what's also kind of a funny story is all I hear from people who are more casual type NBA folks and analysts and that, or even some who are really into it is, man, I wish teams took the regular season more seriously. Well, Boston took it pretty seriously, rampaged through the league to one of the best records that we've seen in a while with an all-time scoring margin, and they earned the right to have an easier path by doing so, and now it's turned around on them of, well, they're not battle-tested, they haven't played anybody. And I got a feeling that the guys are, I think when you talk to them, they hear all this stuff, but I think they all just kind of laugh because I think they're like, this is nonsensical. Like, we just want to play basketball. Let's go.
And they're hungry. They said it. Al Horford said it himself. They are starving for a championship. We'll talk about Keith Smith, NBA Insider. He does it all. I saw your draft stuff. I know you get your podcast, front office show, Spotrac as well. You wrote something recently about top 5 players in the league, top 10 players in the league, based off of health. And I think that's one thing Jason Tatum doesn't get enough credit for is how much that he does play. Do you want to share where he lists or he ranks on your list and some of the others that are on that list?
Yeah, so it's very funny. I always say if you really want to get a lot of attention, put a ranking of something out there, and people, you're going to find out how wrong you are from all sides on that. But I was really, it came out of people were, I think, because they're looking for stuff to talk about. I've been repeatedly asked, hey, is Jason Tatum, is he a top 5, top 6, top 10 guy in the NBA? Where do you have him? And my top 3 in order are kind of Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Luka Doncic. And I didn't really get a lot of people arguing with those 3. Then I have Joel Embiid 4th just because I get it. Joel Embiid misses time, but when he does play, he is so utterly dominant right now. He has hit a point where he really is almost unstoppable at times. And then right behind him, I had Jason Tatum. And I even said, hey, if you want to push Embiid down on the list, I don't really have a huge issue with that. If somebody says, I don't trust it because he doesn't play enough, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But I'm absolutely with you. I think one of Jason Tatum's best skills is that he rarely ever misses time, and it's the point when he does miss a game, it's because they don't let him play. And he's talked about that. He's like, I get angry when they tell me I can't play. So I think that is something that pushes him up because beyond the production, you're going to get it night in, night out from him.
Keith, Mavs, Timberwolves, it now shifts to Minnesota. They're 4.5-point favorites, very high for a team that was down 3-0. What are your thoughts on Game 5, and can Minnesota extend this series?
I think Minnesota can, and I think they're going to. I think they have some momentum. I'm not going to suggest they're going to win the series. I don't know that this is the team to do it. I will say if somebody's going to do it, they're set up just like Boston was a year ago, where the Stars weren't necessarily playing very good. The Stars get it going, and you have a Game 7 at home. And I think that is going to be the way this will happen if we ever see this come through. I think asking a team to get back in at 3-3 and then go on the road and win, that seems very unlikely. But I think they're going to force a Game 6. I think they're going to come home. We've heard that crowd at times this postseason be absolutely bonkers, and I think they're going to be doing everything to say, hey, let's try to make sure we can play one more. And I think they're taking the right mindset, much like Boston did. You can't win 4. You can only win 1 at a time. Go out there, try to win this one and get to the next one, and just keep it going. And they seem to be brimming with confidence. And beyond that, they could have won any of the first 3 games. They were right in all of those games. They just didn't have their best players play very well, and they didn't execute at the end.
All right, Keith, last one. I know you've been reporting because I believe the deadline for college for the draft was it tonight or was it last night? When was that? Today?
It's tonight at essentially at midnight, 11:59 for NCAA players to return. The NBA's overall deadline is June 16th.
Got it. I've watched a lot of college sports, college basketball in particular. You follow it more than I do. I'm just kind of like the guy who bets on it, okay? But do you think this is a down draft, and do you think the NBA draft is now watered down?
To the first part, sure. This is a little bit of a down draft. It was always going to be because there's not a Victor Wembanyama in this draft. But I think what's happened is where people have gone a little too far in this draft class, because now we're hearing people acting like none of these guys can play and none of them are going to be very good. And that's simply not true. There are no one you're looking at and saying, yep, that's a Wembanyama, that's a Zion, that's an AD. That is a guy that's an all-star. Give it a couple years, they'll grow into being, a multi-time all-star and all that, superstar of the league. There's not a player like that. But I've been comparing it to the 2013 draft. That was the famous Anthony Bennett draft. That draft was considered to be pretty rough, but that draft delivered Giannis. Later in the first round. It delivered Rudy Gobert, who people have feelings about him, but he's been a very good player for years, very late in the first round. So there will be players who will pop and become all-stars in this. The challenge is identifying them is really tough. Is the draft watered down? I think we're in one of those down cycles. I think next year is going to be one of those drafts where it's going to be, holy cow, I've been hearing about Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey and some of these other kids that have gone back to school are now going to pop and come in next year instead. Now, I think we're going to see one of those drafts where you're going to start hearing about probably as soon as draft night this year, how teams are going to be positioning themselves to try to get Flagg or try to get Bailey or try to get some of these other guys. I think next year is going to get right back, which is kind of fun, too, for college basketball because there's going to be a lot of kids to watch. And in that, it's not an overly top-heavy international talent draft, which some people still have this sense of like you can only watch grainy YouTube footage of these guys. That's not really it. The games are on TV. You can find them if you want to watch them. But college basketball is still way easier to find and more popular. So I think we're looking at a very fun draft cycle going into a year from now.
All right, he's Keith Smith. Excellent job, Keith. Appreciate you joining us. Continue the good work. Check out his podcast, Front Office Show, and also the work he does for Spotrac as well. Keith, let's do it again before when we finally know who the Celtics are playing in the finals.
Yeah, sometime in the next month or so. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Keith. Great job. He's Keith Smith. Check him out over at Front Office Show. He's at Keith Smith NBA. Does an excellent job. Literally covers everything. The draft, salary cap. He's got it all there, and we wanted to have him on tonight, so appreciating him joining us. We'll take a quick break. We'll get a look at the headlines. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headline.
Do I think Jason Tatum gets over-scrutinized? Yeah, everybody gets over-scrutinized. That's what I think. I think everybody gets over-scrutinized. Again, if you look at the sort of history of best players on the best team, and by that I mean sort of the superstar who wins a championship, right? A lot of these guys it took till they were 27, 28, 29 years old. Jason had so much success early, and part of that was the partnership with Jalen and the teams they had. But, the thing I love about Jason, and he was, as a jump shooter, was really, really excellent from like January on through the regular season. He struggled a little bit in the playoffs. He is so much more than a jump shooter. He does so many things on a basketball floor that impact winning. And you could make the case for their top six that they all do that. And Joe has gotten, I think, the most out of their bench with Cornette and Peyton and Sam this year. So it's just with Tatum, it's always going to be there. And as Joe always says, if he wins this year, it's going to be there next year. I mean, look at the discourse around Jokic during the conference conference semifinals against Minnesota. It never leaves you. That's part of what we signed up for.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We're here until 11 o'clock tonight. That was J.J. Redick on with Felger and Maz today. I actually caught the whole interview. At times, it was cringy and uncomfortable. One guy who played in the NBA, who's an analyst, who's going to probably become a head coach and works on a daily basis or a weekly basis with LeBron James. So that's who you're dealing with. On the other side, you're dealing with Mike Felger and Tony Maserati. And when those worlds collide, things can get a little cringy. I was cringing. Oh, you guys.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I thought it was tremendous.
What was your favorite part?
Oh, boy.
Do you have any sound back there? What do you?
We got plenty of sound.
What do we got? Did they talk about Tatum and Brown and liking each other or playing with each other, or can they win together? Was there any of that in there? I'd like to hear some of that.
Yeah, I already brought that up.
Oh!
That was probably my favorite part.
Oh, really? You're okay.
Yeah, I already brought that up.
What was the question about Tatum's shooting ability?
That's a great question.
Just real quick. I know we all kind of get on Felger and Maz about some of their agendas. JJ Redick. I mean, there is DIC in his name.
It was a sword fight. It was. Call it what it was. That's what it was.
No, that was
bit of a peeing contest.
Yeah. Let's hear the other one on Tatum and Brown and what Redick had to say about that.
Would you have voted for him? Do you think he should have been the conference final MVP?
I think you could make a case for either him or Jason Tatum. I had no issue with Jalen winning, and I wouldn't have had an issue had Jason Tatum won. I think that's what makes their sort of partnership so unique. On any given night, one of them can go for 40. Jason, in games 3 and 4, had damn near triple doubles. But I look at this Celtics team. I know so much was made early on with Jason and Jalen about like who was the guy, who was going to be the better player. Can this partnership work? And I just look at what this team is now today and how valuable all of the players are in their roles, how everybody's spot in. Joe, I think, has just done an outstanding job this year, and it feels like a true team. And you watch them play and you talk to them, behind the scenes in our pregame meetings. And obviously I know a bunch of guys on the team and some of their coaching staff. And that's the big takeaway to me is just what a team they are, just in terms of their cohesiveness and being connected as a group. And that's hard to find in the NBA. And it's one of the reasons they had one of the best regular seasons ever. And it's one of the reasons they've had one of the best runs here in the playoffs in recent memory.
Okay. That's not so bad. I do feel the holier than thou disapproving attitude of answering any question, like he's above them.
It is weird to hear a guest on that show talk down to someone.
Yeah. Let's see. Did they get anything out of Redick regarding the coaching matchup of the remaining three coaches?
Anyone left to give a coaching edge to? Any of the three teams left?
Well, I would say all three are awesome coaches. There's a reason that their team is there. I mean, let's just
say you had to rank them. Like you got to analyze the thing and go 1, 2, 3. How would you do that?
Well, luckily I don't. No, I think if you get to this stage in the season, you're a well-coached team. You're a well-coached team, and Finchie, who I played for, has done a great job. J. Kidd, I think, has been really good throughout these playoffs, both in game planning, but also in game adjustments. And Joe, I think, is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So all three coaches are great.
I think Kidd sucks and Missoula's potentially a liability, but let's just agree to disagree. JJ, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time. We do appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
I think Fred would have hung up on him.
Well, that's not really a high bar, is it?
Fred, we love you.
Yeah, that's not a shot at Fred. I'm just saying. I think he would have too.
You can't spell dick without J.J. Redick. That was. Come on. We're just trying to do our jobs. Again, this is what I mean by national media. Now, I'll give Redick credit for this. He's an analyst. He works the games. He's highly involved in the NBA now. Again, he's probably going to be the coach of the Lakers. And it would probably drive Felger crazy to know that Redick and LeBron do a podcast. And they could potentially be coach-player. Like that, you want to talk about what happens on the court and then on a podcast?
Can you imagine if Tatum or Brown had a podcast with Missoula?
With Missoula.
I mean, it'd be great for us for audio purposes, but can you imagine the takes around that thing?
Oh, my God. So, again, that was interesting. That was uncomfortable. So, is Redick the favorite to be the Lakers coach? He is, right?
Yeah, I already brought that up.
Yeah. We're just trying to do our job. So I give Felger credit because, they don't have guests, right? Really, no one really gives you anything anyways. But hey, man, just for fun, what do you think? Just give you an answer.
That's a great question.
Just give an answer, bro.
Well, luckily I don't.
If it was me, I'm like, well, maybe you should. You're on Boston radio. Kind of look like a tool if you don't.
That was like that was a facilitation standoff right there. One facilitator to another.
Well, I think one was analyzing, trying to get information, while the other just deferred and was holier than thou.
Yeah, I already brought that up.
Granted, they did ask about Tatum shooting, and he brought up how he assisted on 4 of 6 threes in the fourth quarter, and that they don't need him to shoot well to win. But then they asked him about the shooting again to double down on the poor performance of shooting by Jason Tatum. But that doesn't matter because he already answered it.
Yeah, that was when I was on Team Felger for that one.
Yes.
He's like, just answer the question.
I think it was
kind
of like in Rocky IV. Everyone's up. They love the Russian, and then they go to like a Drago on one side, and then all of a sudden everyone loved Rocky, and then at the end it was like, if I can change, you can change. But in the end, I kind of felt like I felt the douche chills.
I'd like for them to get him back on.
In studio.
If they're on remote for game 1, JJ will be there.
Do you think there's a Duke bias?
I think there's a Duke perception.
Oh, yeah. Like a Syracuse radio perception?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's real. That's real, I think.
Celtics got some Dukies.
Is there any of this? There's got to be other schools you feel like that about, right?
For me, I'm a North Carolina fan, so my brother was a Duke fan growing up. They were on TV all the time, older brother. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to root for North Carolina then. So yeah, I think that the Duke thing, I don't know if that means anything for Redick now. But back then, I mean, talk about a guy that knows what it's like to be hated. He was probably the most hated college athlete of my lifetime.
Who's this?
JJ Redick.
Oh wow, yeah, Christian Laettner was mine.
Yeah, but a Duke guy. Like that's just it comes with the territory.
Yes.
So this is nothing new for JJ Redick.
Yeah, and then there was Chris Herron. BC didn't like the blow in the hookers.
Grayson Allen, another hated Duke guy.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of hated Duke guys. Grant Hill was one of my favorite players.
Like I don't really put Tatum and Kyrie they're Duke guys, but one and done. Kyrie was hurt for most of the year. Like I don't view them as
Zion
a little bit, but even him,
Kyrie.
Kyrie. I don't really consider him like one of those Dukies. Your Plumlees. Yeah, those guys.
I remember Cherokee Parks back in the day. That could be a fun little segment.
Most hated Duke players.
Duke basketball. All right, let's get the musings. Musings! Coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere.
You want a random take? Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
All right, Murray's Musings, 98.5 The Sports Hub. I had people reaching out to me last night about the cop car. I had a couple of people tweet at me, I haven't heard the term mustache ride in a long time. And then I had some other people say, Joe, you've been dumped more than Taylor Swift. Today with Beetle. I feel like I said nipples for triples. I don't. Was that nobody? I feel like I coined it.
I think Milliken may have said it in the past, but yes, you were.
Right.
You were definitely at the forefront.
Oh, I was ready to hashtag it and get a copyright. But here's what happened. I woke up this morning and it said I had 20 plus Twitter mentions. You ever look at your phone and you have like a lot of? I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And it's kind of like Mambo number 5, a little bit of Monica, a little bit of. So I had likes, and I actually should look it up right now. I had 45 likes from AI spam women bots. You ever see that? Like, you ever make a post and it's always like, hey here, big guy.
Nudes in profile.
I had 50 of them. 50 of them. Because I hashtag nipples for triples.
Oh, you found your way into the algorithm there.
No, but it was like, I'm looking at it. It's like Sarah, Stacy, Jane.
Tyler.
But I hate that. There's actually another. Know what's going on right now is I have these betting people who I'll tweet something out like, what did I tweet out? Hey, the show tonight, we got this guy and that guy. And then underneath it, it's like, here are my bets for Saturday. It's saying that a lot tonight, huh? Talentless. Come up with your own marketing scheme. Just reaching out to my 35,000 followers. That was a flex. Cool. His post-game comments say the Mets are the worst team in the whole bleeping MLB. We don't have any audio of that, do we?
I have not found the audio yet, just the transcripts.
When they asked him to clarify if he said the Mets were the worst in the league, he said, yeah.
He said, we're the worst team and I'm the worst team.
One time in a softball game. Yeah, one time in softball. I kicked my glove into the stands and I punted it.
Were you tossed?
Oh, yeah. I was leaving anyways. See ya. But yeah, I punted my glove in
Is this a Jorge Lopez or?
No. You got more on Jorge Lopez?
Yes, he was cut by the Mets.
Oh, he got okay.
He was let go. You are no longer an employee of the New York Mets.
Do you think a team will claim him and create a trade?
I don't know. Maybe somebody, but
maybe the Red Sox should look at him.
Going out in a blaze of glory there.
That guy should come here. Should we look? Let's look up Jorge Lopez's stats. Let's do that. I think I need more on Jorge Lopez. Like the Mets. Imagine just saying the Mets suck. I almost honor the guy for this.
He's got an under 4 ERA this year.
Okay, played for the Puerto Rican team. Oh, there you go, right? Maybe he knows Alan Scora. Okay, 23 and 42 for his career. He's got 437 strikeouts. He's got 29 saves. He was an all-star in 2022? What? Or throw his glove into the stands after giving up a home run.
And they cut him.
Is now a knuckleball pitcher in AAA. You heard the story yet? He's been striking out hitters as a knuckleballer. He's also being investigated by Major League Baseball for gambling.
I believe he has a tie to Shohei Ohtani as well?
Correct, yes. So David Fletcher, again, played for the Angels. He was an infielder, currently with the Braves. He bet on sports with the same Southern California bookmaker who took wagers from Shohei Ohtani's longtime interpreter. Fletcher was Ohtani's teammate from 18 to 23 and has been described as one of Ohtani's closest friends in baseball. According to sources, Fletcher placed bets with the bookmaking operation of Matthew Boyer, also known as Bookmaker 1 in the criminal complaint against. So, you could be the next shoeless Joe Jackson. Who knows? But you know what he's going to do? He's going to reinvent himself as a knuckleballer in the minor leagues. They should change his name. Just have him come back as somebody else. Nobody will even know that guy was an infielder. But give me the gambling knuckleballer. I want the gambling knuckleballer. That's cool to me. But he can't. Can he even play minor leagues though if he's suspended?
No, I mean I would think not, especially for gambling.
He'll be at the Park League in Southie before you know it. He'll be playing for those guys. I have another musings, but I'll save it for tomorrow night. Birthdays today. Christina was on the duty of this. Ooh, Melissa Etheridge, 63 years old. Come to my window. Noel Gallagher of Oasis. Laverne Cox, 52nd birthday from Orange is the New Black. Melanie Brown, Scary Spice, 49 years old. Carmelo Anthony, celebrating. I swear that was an accident. Carmelo Anthony, 40 years old. 40.
Thought we moved on from the JJ Redick talk.
Former wrestler Brian Kendrick, 45 years old today. David Buckner. Papa Roach. He's dead. 48. Would have been 48. LaToya Jackson, 68. Anthony Gary, 77. He was on General Hospital. Remember Luke and Laura? It was like one of the biggest storylines going. Al Unser, 85. Would have been 85. Bob Hope would have been 121. That's
and one 35th president, John F. Kennedy.
How did I miss that?
I think you were a little distracted.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Eric Idle. Just make sure I got the right date here. We're at May 29th, right? Yeah. It's been pretty good though since we've been going a year strong without any. Again, more dumps than Taylor Swift, but we're gonna be okay. Danny Elfman, 71. Annette Benning, 66. Whoa. Rupert Everett, 65. Riley Keough, 35 years old. And let's see if we know any YouTube people. This is where things start getting a little... Nia Jax, 40 years old, part of the bloodline.
Throat.
I didn't want to offend anybody. It was an accident.
I was impressed with your composure afterwards.
Thank you. It's so funny, like one of the best, like, is it Steve Levy about the ruptured disc in the guy in the guy's back? It's what sometimes it happens, right? It just comes out the wrong way. All right, we get the final hour of the Sports Hub here. Hey, Danny Ainge spoke about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We'll have that for you in the final hour, and we'll re-rack everything as we're here until 11 o'clock. I'm Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
WBCFM HD1 from the Town Fair Tire Studios, the home of the Patriots, the Celts, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 98.5 The
Brown was, people thought that was a reach. His Cal year, like he had obviously all the tools, but it wasn't the smoothest year in his 1 year in college. And then Jason Tatum, I think very, like, there's only been a couple times in NBA history where a team is traded out of the number one pick. When you have those moments where you're just like, I know, I feel it, I know it, this is who we like, and forget everyone else. Because it is funny to look back and be like, at the moment, at that time, people were like, Danny Ainge is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you don't ever know, but there are times that it's more fun. Like there's somebody that you just really like, and you just feel like it's a fit. I wish that were the case every year, but with Jalen, I watched him play a lot that year. I mean, I got to games at 4:30, 7 o'clock tip off, and I'm watching him out shoot before the game and watching his work ethic. And then I watched their team play, and he did not have a good finish to that freshman year.
Yeah.
And, but, we had him as the number 2 or number 3 pick before the season started. And then I watched his team play so much, I knew like they had a point guard that wasn't a good shooter. They had 2 7-footers that weren't good offensive players. They didn't have enough shooting, enough spacing for him. And I really thought, man, you get him in an NBA court, in the open court. And so we brought him in for 2 workouts. And in those 2 workouts, he convinced all of us, our whole organization, that he was a guy that we wanted to go to bat with.
About his friend Bill Walton this week, but obviously with everything happening with the Celtics. And, there was talks about would Marcus Smart win a ring if the Celtics won a championship? I laugh at that. But what do you think about Danny Ainge? I think Dan Duquette won one with the Red Sox. Helped build it.
No, he hasn't been here in a while.
Danny?
Yeah.
He drafted the cornerstone players.
So, like,
he's like a Celtic forever. Like, I bet you one day they think about retiring his number. I don't want to. I'm just saying that they might.
Yeah, but I mean, giving him a ring is crazy, in my opinion. Just because you drafted the guy, like, we're gonna go back through all the Red Sox rings.
Yeah, Parcells should have got.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are we doing?
All right. This is a Celtics thing, though. They love to do that.
They do love like, to honor theirs.
The way Leon Poe's been talking lately, who was at Kowloon a couple of weeks ago. Leon Poe is like the spokesperson right now.
Him and Derek White's dad leading the charge on Twitter.
And Horford's dad. We haven't seen his sister much. I don't want no beef. Anna Horford, Night Show, we're on your side. If you're gonna check someone on Twitter, we don't have a problem with that. No problems here, Anna. Welcome anytime.
Happily. Call in.
Anytime, Anna. You want to call one of these national people out? Just keep it clean. Don't get dumped. My dump streak back to 0. That could be a nice little funny segment. Dump streak. And I didn't really say anything bad. It came off bad.
It was a mispronunciation. Would you like to hear Ainge on Tatum?
Oh, yeah, let's hear Ainge on Tatum. Thanks, guys.
And then Jason is the other one where it's like people, like you trade the number 1 pick. Everyone thought Markelle Fultz was the guy. Philly fans have to look back at that. You're out on an island because everyone's like, this is crazy. Markelle Fultz was the guy for a while there, and you trade out of it and take Jason Tatum. But was that a similar feeling where, like, we know that this guy is the best guy in this draft?
I mean, I loved Markelle. I watched Markelle play a lot his senior year in college, and that was really a hard decision. I mean, but I felt Jason was the guy for us. Markelle if you needed a franchise point guard, that might have been the guy. But I felt like Tatum was more important for us to get at that moment, and it worked out great for us.
It worked out really well. You traded the number 1 overall pick, got a 3rd pick and a future pick. What was the future pick? Do we ever know what that was? Why do I feel like it was R.J. Hunter or somebody like that? That one worked out for the Celtics. I saw a clip recently of the night that So the night that Jaylen Brown was drafted, I was here in studio, and the predecessor was at wherever they have the draft. Was it the Garden? Where did they? I forget where they used to have it. So I was back here. I think I was working with JD or Jeremy that night, but the boos when Jaylen Brown was announced were pretty heavy. I wanted Jamal Murray. Could you really have gone wrong with either or? Like, I almost think you may have needed Jaylen Brown with Jason Tatum. I know they complement each other now, but early on it was,
Murray's had his injury issues as well.
Exactly. He can't defend. But overall, like, they're two good players. I think Jaylen had more raw ability, right? He was a freshman at the time, and
yeah, and in that interview, Ainge does say that, like, one thing that doesn't bother him is if a guy has all the tools but isn't a great shooter, that's not something that's like a deterrent. He thinks you can teach shooting.
Jason Kidd.
Yeah, he actually mentioned Jason Kidd, I think.
All right,
yeah.
Jason Kidd was a Hall of Fame point guard, and at the end of his career created the three-point shot, helped him win a championship. Oh, yeah, he was immense at that. But, yeah, I mean, there's been others that have improved over the years. Jaylen Brown's a pretty good three-point shooter. Jamal Murray, too. Last year at this time, I wanted Jamal Murray. What a difference a year makes, huh? Wow. So there's Danny Ainge on the Celtics, Tatum and Brown. We're here until 11 o'clock tonight. If you want to jump aboard, 617-779-0985. And, well, Elliot Wolf has one regret. One regret from this offseason. We'll tell you what that is coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
irresponsibly slept on. This team had injuries. Judon, Gonzalez last year, 2 absolute stars when they're out there. How does this group stack up to other defenses you've been around in your career?
Yeah, I would just say I think one of the most impressive things about our defense last year was the fact that they never quit. I mean, our offense was very notably struggled to put up points, and the defense just came out every week, and they were absolute warriors, taking on the run, taking on the pass. And, even mentally with losing some of our better players throughout the season, they just kind of showed up every week and did their thing. We had some guys really step up into bigger roles, and I'm really excited for what the future holds. My one regret so far from this offseason, particularly with the draft, is we had 8 draft picks. We only drafted 1 defensive player, and so I've apologized to Coach Covington about that. But obviously he wanted what's best for the team too. So that's one regret that I've had so far. But we'll see how it goes. We feel good about the guys we do have in here.
So that's one thing coming from Wolf. Skaz asked us off the air, where do you think this campaign or pushback is coming from? Well, he mentioned DeMarcus Covington. But who's really running the defense? I think it's going to be Gerard Mayo. Could there be pushback from Mayo regarding what they did in the draft? I don't know. I feel like the Patriots are pretty good on defense, and they're going to get Christian Gonzalez back. I'm high hopes for him this year. High hopes. Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, they're going to be okay over there. Can they win games, though, defensively? Last year, they could win 4. Can they do that this year? One other thing I wanted to just bring up regarding the Patriots. Bailey Zappi is taking reps. My guy, Bailey. Jacoby Brissett today had a chance to talk to the media. And he spoke about Bailey Zappi. He goes, to address the elephant in the room, it's a tough situation for him. And he goes out there every day and competes. That's from Jacoby Brissett. Do you have Zappi at all? I know I mentioned Brissett, but Bailey Zappi talked about why he's still here and told us there's a quarterback competition. Let's hear it if you have it. Because I will tell you when there's a quarterback competition. Tell me, Bailey.
Oh yeah, there's a little smack talking going on. Obviously, yeah. If we keep count, it's kind of a friendly competition. I think I'm winning, but well, I'm sure everybody else have their own opinion on it. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun competition, and just everybody getting better.
Who's the worst at the smack talk?
The worst of the smack? Probably, I don't know. Everybody has their fair share. I don't think anybody's bad at it. I think everybody's got a pretty good. They can sling some stuff at you.
Hey, Bailey. No, will you be QB1?
It's a chunky. Uh-oh, you got a chunky.
Hey, Zappy said it. They told us, all of us, there's going to be a competition. Everyone's going to have an opportunity to go out there and prove that they can be that guy. Why is he still here? Why is he still getting reps? I don't know. If they're trying to trade him, fine. What do you got? You got some more on that?
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think it's ever really came up in a conversation. I think we just, we all love ball. We all want to win, and that's kind of been the conversation by itself. We all get along well. There really hasn't been any, true awkwardness. Like I said, maybe like the first couple of days you meet each other because you don't really know each other. But right now, I mean, it's running smooth, and it's a great quarterback room.
Everyone's so confused why Bailey Zappi's still here. It's because he can play. He couldn't play when he was with Bill O'Brien because they sabotaged him. Now he's going to work with Alex Van Pelt, who's got some of the best footwork in the league and one of the best ball fakers, and now he's going to air the ball out.
Yeah, if he can get it over the line.
Listen, let me be honest for a minute.
The Patriots are a bad football team if Bailey Zappi is their starting quarterback.
Yes, you're right.
And I don't want the Patriots to be a bad football team.
Well, they're gonna suck. We already they're gonna be. Chris Mason told us tonight they suck.
They don't need to be any worse. All right.
Okay. Let me just say this about Zappi. I do think, in my opinion, and I was right. No matter how anybody else wants to spin what they know, I didn't think the gap was that big between him and Mac Jones. I wonder what the gap is between him and Brissett. I am curious.
No, the gap wasn't that big between him and Mac Jones because they both stink.
You're right. No, I agree with you. I just want you to know where my take. That was always my take. It's just turned into Joe loves Zappy.
No, you were right.
I hated Mac.
You were right. It
Mac
was a QB
sucked.
competition.
Whoa, this guy from Houston Baptist in Western Kentucky is literally throwing better than a number one pick, first round pick from Alabama. Like, to me, I was like, what are we doing here? So yes. And also, there was never a quarterback competition because they wouldn't allow it. They cut his ass because Bill O'Brien's like, this guy can't do it. I can't work with him. Because they wanted Mac. And it was a fail. They failed Zappy. They failed him. I know he sucks, but now he has a real opportunity here. Drake May is going to be the guy, and Brissett's going to be the starter. We all know that.
You're not a Joe Milton guy?
I'm not. I think he gets cut.
I think there is a possibility he gets cut.
Or Foxborough flu.
Practice squad.
Foxborough flu. Yeah, if he gets cut, I bet you someone would look at it. I don't know, actually, now, the way things happen.
Zappy got caught. Nobody picked him up.
Yeah.
So maybe Zappy goes to the practice squad?
On that one, though, I think there were teams that were interested. They just didn't. But, yeah, I don't think Zappy's going to be here. But I want to be fair and critical. I do think Van Pelt can work with a guy like him. Like, look what he did with the guys in Cleveland.
I was going to say, what do you think of the Van Pelt hype?
I think Van Pelt is a good coordinator, meaning a coach, right? QB coach, can work on things, bad habits. Van Pelt is a hell of a. He was like, when he played quarterback, dude, he was great at play fakes. How many play fakes did the Patriots run last year? They couldn't because of their line. It's awful. I think that's where Van Pelt's going to help. You know where else I think Van Pelt's going to help? I think he knows how to work with quarterbacks to know when receivers, break their routes. Timing, I guess, with wide receivers. I think you're going to see an upgrade with Van Pelt. I do. This is a guy who's never had this. I mean, he had the opportunity in Cleveland. They took it away from him. But I think they have a chance to hit on this guy. I like the Van Pelt move. I still would have rather a young guy that they could develop for years, but maybe Van Pelt is that guy that deserves the opportunity now based off his success. Because Cleveland was very successful. And the other thing to bring up is how well their offense played with tight ends. So if you can kind of mix the tight end back in here, that'll be something very good for the Patriots. All right, I got the one more segment here. We got two more to go, actually. But on the other side here, just wanted to give my take again on what's going on nationally with the Celtics as we await their next opponent. Let's get your final headline of the night.
Second down and 17, Buffalo at the Patriot 26. Van Pelt checks over a five-man defensive front and drops straight back to
excited for him, and you did not seem to think that it was mirrored in Jason Tatum.
I think Jason was just shocked. I think he played well down the stretch. He led them in rebounding. It was something that you wouldn't expect him to do. You think that a big man would take care of that, but I think Jason Tatum was shocked.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Get ready for a very, very long 8 days. The national media will still question if Tatum and Brown can coexist. And I started the show saying they're the envy of the NBA right now. Oh, yeah. If the Celtics go and win a championship, they're going to be good for a while. They'll be contending for years. They'll be like what the Golden State Warriors were. Again, they have to win one first. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. But you look at this team, they should be good next year. They should be good for the years to come. They have guys that they could trade and get other assets for. They're loaded for a long time. But don't tell that to the national media who compares the Celtics to bagels. East Coast has great bagels. Not a lot of great NBA teams. Is Boston one? Yes. They're the best team in the NBA, bro. Sometimes I feel like I got to throw a bro at somebody, you know? Bro. And as you heard on Get Up this morning, Tatum is trying to prove he's a winner. Brown is trying to prove he's an equal. It's separate goals. Really? Based off what, sir? Have you done any research? Have you read about their relationship? Have you read about the time? And Chris Mannix talked about it tonight because I know Shams had it the other day. Boston management went to Jason Tatum and said, we have an opportunity to trade Jaylen Brown. Do you want to play with him or not? And Tatum said, I absolutely want to play with Brown. Another quote, we've never seen two stars ever this close in skill set to where you don't know who the 1A is. I don't care who the 1A is. I don't care. Does anybody care who the 1A is? By the way, who was the 1A on the big three of the Celtics in 08? You could say it was Garnett, but it was Paul Pierce who was the captain. Ray Allen had tremendous playoff games.
Do you remember Kevin Garnett being upset that Pierce won Finals MVP?
Do you remember any of those three upset? They won.
Do you remember it even being a topic of discussion?
No. It was about can they beat Kobe? Right? Celtics Lakers, that's what it was about. Tatum is a singular talent. Brown is a force multiplier behind the scenes that Tatum isn't. What does that have to do with basketball?
What does it have to do with anything?
I'm a force multiplier as well. I'm a force multiplier. I hate that quote. Forced multiplier? What?
And saying Tatum is, what is the terminology there?
Tatum is a singular talent.
Yes, which is just one of the furthest things from the truth.
Singular as in
doesn't elevate his teammates, didn't lead the team in what, points, rebounds, and assists through the first 3 rounds. I would say that's more than just a singular talent.
Singular, denoting or referring to just one person or thing. Exceptionally good or great, remarkable.
You're describing Carmelo Anthony there, not Jason Tatum.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Carmelo Anthony.
Is he still with Lala?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And then he would be singular. What's another one here? Oh, Nick Wright, who's always wrong.
Always the voice of reason, Nick Wright.
Nick Wright had Tatum in tier 3. Below Kyrie and Jalen in tier 2. Luka, tier 1.
I mean, just having Tatum in tier 3 to begin with discredits the whole thing. What are we doing?
People are losing their minds about the Celtics. Literally losing their minds. And the one that got me today, when Jaylen Brown wins the award, the rest of the team just goes crazy. They were so genuinely excited for him. And you didn't seem to think it was mirrored in Jason Tatum. And you know what they did? They showed a video of everybody cheering for Jaylen Brown. And everybody rubbed him on the head like, good man, good. Even Jason Tatum, for that matter. And he even clapped for him and everything.
Jumping up and down, rubbing him on the head.
But then they zeroed in on his head and went, does this look like a man who's happy?
Is that a real smile?
Is there beef between Tatum and Brown on the next ESPN stand-up? Or whatever the hell this show is. You're all takeless. You have no talent. You can't create your own content. You're all talking heads who are uninformed. You all got here because you were scribes. You covered teams. You got information. Now, what do? You get a text message from somebody and you say, Jaylen Brown got problems behind the scenes. Right? That's literally what was said. You're all takeless. For real. When's the last time you guys created your own thoughts? What is it? ESPN producers just, hey, let's try this one today. What do you think? Let's talk about, what's this hip injury that Paul Pierce mentioned? Let's do this. Maybe we should look into this Paul Pierce talking about Jaylen Brown having a hip injury. Oh, here comes the dirt on Ime Udoka. Watch. Now we're reaching. You start going Ime on everybody. Right? Ime Udoka. The truth. You're all reaching. You're all looking. You got nothing. Talentless. Can't create any content on your own. Takeless. Takeless. And I'm jealous. And I resent you all. But I do my research. And I will tell you very much. Tatum and Brown have made it a point to be teammates. They don't need to be best friends. But I'll tell you this much. They're important to each other. And they're important to each other's success. And I think they know that. It's about time everyone else catches up to the Jays. Well, I wrap up this show on the other side. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
He addressed the Tatum-Brown dynamic back in 2022. This after a fresh round of Brown trade rumors. In short, there are no issues. Tatum admits that he wondered how Brown would react to the latest round of rumors. It's never easy, says Tatum. The friendship we began when the two were teenagers, roommates at Under Armour camp, has grown strong. In 2017, when Boston was debating between Tatum and Josh Jackson in the draft, it was Brown in a late-night phone call to GM Danny Ainge who gave Tatum a push. Asked those in and around the Celtics about the relationship between the two, and the answer is similar. Great. Asked privately whether there is any friction, and the answers are the same. Jason brags about how good Jalen is and how aren't many players he would trade straight up for him. Any narrative that that they don't like each other and that they can't win together is totally made up. So again, I'm the guy who does his research. I referenced that story from 2 years ago. Yet you lazy national media want to bring up stories. You create it. You create this. You create this. Facts. Go off the facts. Now listen, not every article is accurate, right? I personally still think there may have been an issue between Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown even brought up Marcus Smart this week. I know they didn't like each other. I know they almost got into a fist fight. I know all those things. I also know the Celtics are a better team without Marcus Smart here. Jaylen Brown, Smart, they made the right choice. They made the right choice. But all I'm telling you is this. Do your research on the relationship of Brown and Tatum. It's way beyond who gets the credit. It's way beyond that. And I'll tell you this much. I bet you Pierce, Garnett, and those guys have even said it doesn't matter who as long as you win. Brian Scalabrine said it best when they won in 08. When he won, he went to the podium and he was like, 10 years from now, I started. 20 years from now, I was an all-star. But 30 years from now, people are going to remember me as NBA champion. That's all people will remember you for. Doesn't matter who was 1A or 1B or, Dwayne Wade was the second guy on that team. Doesn't matter. Dwayne Wade has the rings, right? Chris Bosh has the rings. Kyrie Irving has a ring. Played with LeBron. It doesn't matter who's the guy. This isn't wrestling. When you be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! It's not that. It's not that. It's a team coming together to win a championship. That's what it's about. That's it for today.